broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
1, 2, 3.
I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. One last time tonight, Bridgestone Arena. Preds and Avalanche tonight. I got to tell you, I'm a little sad. Walking in today, parking today, knowing it's the last game of the season. I don't know why I'm sad. It's not like we're shocked that the Predators aren't making the playoffs, but it was just something about walking in today and just thinking to myself, man, I miss what it was like when we'd walk into this building this time of the year and be excited for the playoffs. Now, if you remember, 2020, no playoffs because that was in the bubble, so forget about that. 2021, excited. It was kind of a team in turmoil. Who knew where that thing was headed? 2022, absolutely not. Last year, they were all telling us, we can, but, come on now. And obviously this year they didn't make it. So I missed the days of, a game 1 at Bridgestone Arena or a game 3 at Bridgestone Arena and the excitement of it. But after talking to Barry Trotz yesterday, I feel pretty good that they will eventually be back in that regard. Ian is here today on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
So I think I am losing my objectivity, which is something that I don't like to admit very often, but the difference between me and other people is that when I am starting to lose my objectivity, I can sense it. Unlike other people that have no objectivity and are trying to claim, no, I'll tell you, you're biased. I am starting to lose my objectivity. And I'm starting to lose my objectivity when it comes to Anthony Richardson. Now, I went and did this exercise yesterday, and we were going to bring this up on the show until I saw the laughable claim that the Indianapolis Colts, and this may be true, it may not be true, from ESPN, that the Indianapolis Colts prefer Will Levis over Anthony Richardson and are prepared to take Will Levis with the 4th overall pick. Again, it's lying season, so I don't know how much I can believe that. But I was going to go over this yesterday. It was funny. TD was on the show, and TD was talking about quarterback X and quarterback Y. And as he was saying it, I had the numbers right in front of me. Anthony Richardson is 20 years old. So when I hear everybody say, like, he was no good at Florida. Come on now. Anthony Richardson. I'm like, guys, he was 20 years old. Everybody talks. Played 13 games. Like, that's it. Played one season in college football, in the SEC, with a new coach, with a bad team. And Anthony Richardson was still 6-6 as the quarterback. By the way, how bad was Florida without Anthony Richardson? They played a bowl game. He didn't play. And it's not like the Florida Gators are sending a massive army of players to Kansas City for the draft in 2 weeks. They're sending him. So he sat out of the bowl game. They lost by 27 to Oregon State. But I digress. I ran the numbers on the other quarterbacks that everybody wishes you had. In the AFC, you wish you had Patrick Mahomes. You wish you had Joe Burrow. You wish you had Josh Allen. And I know because I hear it all the time. The sentiment of, well, what's the point of even trying with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill? Because we know Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill can't beat the elite quarterbacks of the AFC. And I know when you say that, you're not talking about Deshaun Watson in Cleveland or Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh. I know you're not talking about Russell Wilson. I know who you're talking about. Burrow, Allen, and Mahomes. I threw another one in here because John Elway was such a generational talent. I figure let's throw him in here too. Last year, Anthony Richardson, 6-6. 7.8, so right on the money of 8 yards per attempt. 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. It's pretty good. It's basically 2-1. And his quarterback rating was 131. Let's start with Patrick Mahomes at age 20. At age 20, Mahomes was 7-6 as a starter. So Richardson was 6-6, played in the hardest conference in the country. Mahomes at Texas Tech, 7-6. Completion percentage, 63.5. That's pretty good. Yards per attempt, 8.1. So Richardson was 7.8 yards per attempt. Mahomes was 8.1. Touchdowns, 36-15. Again, a little bit better there than 2-1. And Mahomes had a rating of 147. So Mahomes' age 20 season was a scotch above Anthony Richardson's. It was a good season. Now, that being said, I don't want to get into the difference in the defenses between the Big 12 and the SEC, but, well, Ian, do we need to get into the difference between defense in the Big 12 and the SEC?
I think most people have the idea.
Okay. Josh Allen's age 20 season, 8-6 as a starter. Now, I don't know how you play 14 games in college, but I guess he did. I guess that would be 12 conference championship bowl game. Josh Allen played 14 games, 8-6 as a starter. So Mahomes lost 6 games at 20 years old. Allen lost 6 games at 20 years old. Richardson lost 6 games at 20 years old. Completion percentage, 56%. So Anthony Richardson's 54. Josh Allen was 56. Yards per attempt, 8.6. It's pretty good. Touchdown to interceptions, 28-15. He had a quarterback rating of 144.9. Remember, Richardson was 131. But how about this? In 17, the year before Josh Allen went in the draft, he was 127.8. So a lower quarterback rating than Anthony Richardson. Joe Burrow's age 20 season, Joe Burrow was on the bench. Joe Burrow was behind Dwayne Haskins. Joe Burrow played in 5 games. He completed 78.6% of his passes because he threw 28 of them. And 2 touchdowns, no picks. But how about this? Joe Burrow's age 22 season, which was his first year at LSU. His completion percentage was 4 points higher than Anthony Richardson's, from 53.8 to 57.8. His yards per attempt was lower than Anthony Richardson's, 7.6 to 7.8. His touchdowns to interceptions were 16.5 to Richardson's 17.9. And his rating was 133.2 to Richardson's 131. Guys, it's not that big of a difference. How about John Elway at age 21 at Stanford, his last year? Or his junior season, I should say, at Stanford, age 21. Elway, remember Richardson was 6-6, and you all don't like that about him. Elway, 4-7. Elway was also 5-6 his last year at Stanford. Don't let anybody fool you. This idea that every quarterback who's ever been good in the NFL won a bunch of games in college, it's you know that's – where's Craig Krenzel playing in the NFL? Completion percentage, 58.5. So just like Richardson, just like Allen, just like Burrow, they're all, except for Mahomes, all in the 50s. Yards per attempt, 7.3. Touchdown to interception ratio, 20 touchdowns, 13 picks. John Elway had a less quarterback rating than Anthony Richardson, 130.8 to 131. So you guys can sit there and tell me all you want about the stats. You can say, hey, I don't care that there are no freak athletes like Anthony Richardson, and I don't care that Anthony Richardson is 6 years younger than Hendon Hooker, and I don't care, and you can say that all you want. But at the end of the day, we do need to factor in that when these guys were 20 years old, that they weren't headed right for the NFL either. Joe Burrow was a 6th-round pick, according to Mel Kiper Jr., before he went back for his senior season. All everybody says about Anthony Richardson is he needed to go back to college. If he had gone back to college, he would have. Well, guess what? He didn't. So now that year that he won't get to be playing minor league football, which is what college football is, and the SEC is AAA, you're going to have to figure out how to supplement that. You're going to figure out how to get him the at-bats, the experience, and everything else. You're going to have to figure out how to do that. Because what you're doing is you're really taking him at his age 21 season. What you're really doing is you're getting him at what would be the year before he would have been a top draft prospect. And I know Caleb Williams and Drake May will be in next year's class, and I know that those guys are supposed to be just super special, and we'll see. I remember when Matt Barkley was supposed to be that guy, and obviously he never was. But you guys have got to take this with a grain of salt. You have to have all the information about these quarterbacks. You sit there and say, well, Anthony Richardson was a 50% completion passer at Florida. It's not going to work. And I'll tell you, at age 20, and Joe Burrow was 50% at LSU at age 22. So Anthony Richardson might stink. He might. He might go to the NFL and be so underdeveloped, and the fact that he missed out on what would be hundreds of reps in practice, but also the 13 games that he would miss by not playing at Florida this upcoming season, that might be a roadblock from him ever being a great quarterback. He might be like Kyler Murray, and he might be addicted to video games. I don't know. But I'm just telling you, all the things that you guys say about Richardson to knock him, he said the same things about John Elway. He didn't win enough games. Elway was 4-7 at age 21. Elway was 5-6 at age 22, right before he got drafted. I don't think that slowed down the Colts from wanting him with the number 1 pick. Didn't stop the Colts, didn't stop the Broncos, didn't even stop the Yankees from wanting John Elway. 615-737-1025. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if it's you guys and your reaction to Anthony Richardson, or if it's just the more information I see, the more I like, but I am starting to lose my objectivity on Anthony Richardson. Yesterday, Ryan Porth texted me after the show and said, what do you think the Titans should do? I said, I think they should trade up to 3 for Richardson. He's like, you're that sold on him? I'm like, well, I'm not telling you that they should trade up to 3 if I didn't think they should take him. I do like Anthony Richardson a lot. And I do understand that he has a lot of progress to make. But he's 20 years old. Hendon Hooker is going to be 26. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. I see you guys already want to weigh in on this. Of course, we'll get to you because it's Fireball Hot Take Friday. But a caller called in yesterday, and he said Anthony Richardson was all horrible in the Georgia game. And I didn't know if he was right or wrong or indifferent. But this morning I watched the Florida-Georgia game. My thoughts on it, then we're right to your phone. Stillman and Company, Fireball Hot Take Friday, 615-737-1025. Of course, we're at Bridgestone Arena one last time this season because the Preds play tonight. And tune in for Sounds Baseball tonight at 6:35 on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Norfolk Tide, the AAA affiliate of the Orioles. And they will continue their series against the Tide Saturday at 6:35 and Sunday at 2:05. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Traylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase and Michelle, and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Brought to you by Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. Hutton is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Tools of the Game, brought to you by Northern Tool and Equipment. Now that you've taken on the big job, doesn't mean you have to settle for big box. Northern Tool helps with the little things that make the biggest difference. From pressure washers to power tools and pallet jacks to push carts, Northern Tool and Equipment has what you need to get the job done.
Genesis Diamond's spectacular spring store-wide sale is coming. April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. 3 incredible days of store-wide savings. Up to 35% off engagement rings, earrings, bracelets, wedding bands, plus special financing. Even Genesis GIA-certified diamonds are marked down. Lab-grown diamonds, too. Plus, top jewelry designers are flying in with all new amazing designs. You can't miss this annual event. Save up to $10,000 on some items. It's April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd only. And only at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Anyone want to tell me what happened?
Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to theGameNashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Anthony Richardson. He's from the University of Florida. He's 6'0", 244 pounds, 4.4 40-yard dash, an amazing 40.5 vertical jump, 54.7 completion percentage at the collegiate level, which is below average. In fact, alarmingly below average. 7.9 yards per attempt, which is almost on the number. That's good. 24 TDs, 15 interceptions. That is not good. He has ideal and rare size, speed, athletic ability, arm strength, speed of release, extension, and running ability. It's excellent and it's rare. He's reminiscent of Cam Newton with 2 exceptions. He doesn't quite have the shake and bake that Cam had to make people miss down the field, but he's actually faster. And at a similar stage of his career, he has better touch than Cam did coming in. His passing ability is rare. He can make any throw from any platform at any distance and any velocity with minimal effort. Everything he does is easy.
That was Bill Polian on SiriusXM NFL Radio. He's got a gold jacket for picking players. And he's telling you right there, rare talent in Anthony Richardson. And I have lost my objectivity. I want the Titans to trade up to 3. I want them to draft Anthony Richardson. I do not want the Colts to have Anthony Richardson, even though they say they're not interested in Anthony Richardson. So a caller called in yesterday and was like, Anthony Richardson was horrible against Georgia, Jared. And I didn't say much back because I didn't know what he was talking about. So this morning I watched the Florida-Georgia game. Now, I skipped out on watching Georgia on offense. I just watched Florida. And I have to tell you, I thought that it was going to be one of these games where I was going to have to make a bunch of excuses for Anthony Richardson. I'm telling you, after watching the Florida-Georgia game, this was a game that they lost. This was a game where his stats weren't even all that good. This was a game where they didn't pick up a first down for like the first 5 drives of the game. Oh, my God, I love him. He got hurt on the first play of the game. They hit him in the leg. And for about the first half, he wasn't mobile. It took about half of his, talent. It like zapped his power away. And even then in the second half, against the best team in the country, against an NFL defense, Anthony Richardson kept Florida in the game. And it was just these, he would screw some things up. He misses guys wide open in the middle of the field by throwing above their head, which drove me crazy, including missing a touchdown. He also missed a touchdown on a play in which he didn't see the open guy. He threw to the cover guy, and he actually had the covered guy open too and threw it over his head. So they're going to have to work on that. And I'm not a guru, but I think that's a footwork thing. But when I watched that game, I realized they didn't lose that game because of Anthony Richardson. They stayed in that game because of Anthony Richardson. And he can just move over. You guys know how good Georgia's defensive line is with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith and all those dogs. And, he'd say hike, and there were like 3 guys right on him. He'd take 2 steps over and just throw the ball 60 yards down the field. It was beautiful. And there was a play in which I actually sent it to Robby and Joe where Anthony Richardson just throws a fade on the back shoulder and just pops it right over Keely Ringo's head. And it was the easiest 40-yard gain I've ever seen in my life. And then there was another play that I absolutely loved. I've watched it probably 100 times. It's a 5-yard scramble where Anthony Richardson gets hit in the backfield, breaks that tackle. Then a defensive lineman who is 305 pounds by the name of Bear. His name is Bear Alexander. And he grabs on Richardson on his back. And Richardson keeps running for 5 yards until 3 Georgia guys come up and tackle him. He had a bear on his back, and he ran 5 yards with him. So I thought this caller, he sucked versus Georgia. Watch the game, caller. He was awesome. The one interception he threw was at the very end of the game on a 4th down. Georgia brought the house, and he just threw it up for a jump ball in the end zone. I mean, he can throw the ball 50 yards with freaking ease. The talent, it's there. So I thought I was going to watch that game and say, this was. No, I watched that game and I'm like, Anthony Richardson is the man. So make of that what you will. But again, maybe I've lost all objectivity. Fireball Hot Take Friday. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You guys have lined up on this. Brad's been waiting patiently. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, so I was at both of the Kentucky and the Florida games last year in person. So I watched both of them. Honestly, I wasn't really
For who, Tennessee or
impressed
Vandy?
with either one of them. I'd say that again.
For who, Tennessee or Vandy?
No, I was at the Vols games for the
Okay,
Florida
so you were
and
at the Kentucky
game
for versus Tennessee and the Florida game versus Tennessee.
Correct. Yeah.
Go ahead. All right,
So
continue.
I remember honestly not being very impressed with either one of them. I don't think that they both suck, and so it's not that. But I just remember not being very impressed with either one. And so when I think of trading up, I just think we need to look at the big picture and remember this is Rand Carthon's first draft of hopefully many. And if what you said is true, that Vrabel wants to and has to win next year not to get fired, I don't think he can do that by trading 5 picks up to get one of these guys. If you stay at 11 and one of them falls and you've got them rated pretty high on the board, then do it. But I just can't see, from what I saw in person, taking 5 picks over the next 2 years, and a lot of them this year, and giving that away for what I saw when we need a lot more. But again, if they've got them ranked that high, then I trust that. But man, this
how
is
are
his
you not
first
impressed
draft.
with what he did against Tennessee? I mean, he threw for
Because
500 yards.
If you give me a chance to answer on that, I'll tell you why I wasn't. If you look at his overall stats, it looked like he had an amazing game. But he did a lot of his damage. We're talking like 150 of those yards in the last 2.5 minutes when they were down by 3 touchdowns, and Tennessee was asleep out there. He was just throwing bombs. Tennessee wasn't doing anything. All that happened in the fourth quarter in the last 6 minute.
I'll tell you this right now, and I hear you, and I appreciate your call, but, I mean, that they were throwing for a Hail Mary to win that game. That game didn't matter. That was, because of his super talent. And let me say this about Florida. That team freaking sucks. Like the Florida Gators, they were awful. I mean, this center they have 65. I mean, he's got a family, so I don't want to rip on him too bad. But, I mean, I watched that. It was him and Travis Etienne's brother. And I only watched the offense. The defense, I just fast forward through and watch him give up a touchdown every time against Georgia. But I was only watching the offense. That team's terrible. I mean, that team outside of him and Travis Etienne's freshman brother, that Florida team is awful. Just awful. Let's go to Michael, who's up next on Anthony Richardson. Thank you for calling. What's up, Michael?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I'm with you on a lot of this. The more I just think about Anthony Richardson, the more I start drinking the Kool-Aid because, like you literally just said, like outside of him, if he wasn't the quarterback and it was just some random bum off the street, they probably wouldn't have won a single game. They may have gotten away with 1 or 2, but it has a lot to be said when a quarterback like that can literally lift a team to 6 wins in a season. And it's like, I don't want to get too hyped about it or nothing, but I'm with you. I want us to get Anthony Richardson at whatever the cost at this point. And if it turns out to burn us, then just going to have to live with that. But if he does pan out, then, I mean, if you tell me that we could draft Cam Newton and get Cam Newton's career out of that, I mean, that's an MVP quarterback right there that went to the Super Bowl.
I mean, here's my thing, too. I think Richardson's throwing ability, thank you for your call, I think Richardson's throwing ability actually has a chance to be better than Cam. And this is why you got to sit him on the bench, and you got to work with him on his fundamentals and his footwork and his accuracy and all of those things. But I think he's actually, I mean, you heard Bill Polian in that cut say that his touch on the ball is better than Cam coming out. I mean, the thing about Richardson is he would overshoot a guy by about 5 yards and then come back on the next play and just throw the most beautiful ball. And what that tells me is that that's there, that he has the ability to do that. The question is, how, as coaches, do you get him to do that consistently and take the other stuff out? I mean, all you guys do is talk about how you want Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. And I'm like, those teams said we got to develop these quarterbacks. What you guys want is you want the finished product of Anthony Richardson if he were to make it. You want to see the Anthony Richardson who, instead of good 50%, bad 50%, you want to see good 80%, bad 20% before you feel comfortable drafting him. And I'm just going to tell you, at his size, at his speed, his running ability, and just the talent of him being able to throw it as far as he can all the time. And it just, I mean, it's a flick of the wrist and it goes 50 yards. If he was good 80% of the time and bad 20% of the time right now, you wouldn't be able to get him because he'd be going to Carolina at number 1. I mean, he is freaking, it's just me though. And like I said, I think I've lost my objectivity. I came into this, I had no objective or no, objective's not the right word. I don't know. I had no bias towards one quarterback or another. And then all this Richardson talk started, and I started watching, and I started listening, and I started doing the research. I like him. I do like him. 615-737-1025 is our phone number here on the program. And I'll just tell you, I know it would be a lot. But we'll get to that on the other side. Stillman & Company, Fireball Hot Take Friday. You know I love Fireball whiskey. And Fireball whiskey goes down so smooth, it's the end of hockey season. So we're going to toast back with some ice-cold Fireball to remember the good times and to celebrate what was a very interesting and very revealing hockey season. And we're going to do that with Fireball whiskey. Fireball whiskey goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. Ignite the night. Please be 21 years or older to indulge. That is Fireball cinnamon whiskey.
Rand Carthon's crossed off a very big item off the to-do list.
Oh, Simmons! Hello!
With the signing of Jeffrey Simmons
to a 4-year contract extension. I think it's a big deal.
I'm not surprised that it got done.
Jeffrey Simmons loves being a Titan.
With the draft just a few weeks away, what's next?
Talking Titans?
Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You want a mower that delivers a quality cut and an exceptional ride. You need the Kubota Z200 series with the new K-Ride comfort system, designed to give you everything you need to glide your way to a perfectly manicured lawn. Visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Visit Coleman Tractor Company, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, Chef Phillip at Bar Lines at the Omni Hotel. Come try some of our new menu items like the Nashville Hot Fish and Chips, Nathan's Hot Dog Burn Ends, or the Nashville Chicken Jam Band. Go Preds.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey, Robby, Stanley here, and season tickets for the Preds 2023-24 season are on sale now. Preds will be celebrating their 25th anniversary throughout next season. Full half and quarter season plans are available, and you can join the Loyal Legion today and receive the best seat locations at the best pricing and up to 50% off discounts on concessions throughout the season and more, plus priority access to the 2023 NHL Draft and Awards, which are hosted right here in Nashville coming up this summer. Check it out at NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
From the executive producers of Little Fires Everywhere, The Morning Show, and Big Little Lies, What would I tell my 22-year-old self?
Starring Emmy Award nominee Katherine Hahn.
What does it mean to heal, to move on?
Comes a big look
Maybe we end up where we're supposed to be.
at the little things.
Healing is doing the impossible thing every single day.
Tiny Beautiful Things. Now streaming only on Hulu.
When you want live and local,
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
they've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey Nashville, this is Laura Rutledge from the SEC Network, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
So, Anthony Richardson, top 10 pick? We're okay with that?
Yes, no question. I'm going to say top 5 pick. I think it's just what he's doing in these meetings when they're talking to him about offenses, defenses, site adjustments, everything that goes into it. That stuff we don't know, so I don't know how he's coming out of the meetings. I didn't hear anything today that would indicate that he's struggled in those meetings.
Right.
So to me, it's just a matter of taking this raw athletic quarterback and just molding him, and that does not happen overnight. And it's just going to take time and patience.
Rick Spielman, former NFL general manager on CBS. Mike Vrabel, mold that clay. Trade those picks. Draft that quarterback. Oh, man. Now, look, I don't know how the meetings went. Apparently, I guess I was reading some Houston website. Apparently, Anthony Richardson knocked it out of the park on the cognitive test. And when I saw, him in the Georgia game, when I watched tape, I say tape. I mean, I just watched the TV copy. When I saw him in the Georgia game, I saw a lot of times where, he would make checks at the line and, important checks at the line. And important checks at the line where he was making a check with 6 seconds. And you guys know the Florida-Georgia atmosphere is absolutely wild. And he's making these checks, and I'm sitting there, kind of timeout, starting to grab my hands together. And he gets the snap off right at the end. And, in fact, one time he had it timed so well that Kirby ran up and called a timeout, and they snapped the ball. And it was a 4th down. They snapped it, and the Georgia player hit Richardson, and it was a 15-yard penalty. So Kirby called a timeout, and it cost him a 1st down. I mean, it's unbelievable. There was one where, for some reason, Georgia got no pressure on him, and he looked off the safety, and he threw the ball to the receiver, and it was a BB right over the DB, and the receiver just ran 75 yards for a touchdown. It was beautiful. Weston is up next on a Fireball Hot Take Friday on Anthony Richardson. Thank you for calling. What's up, Weston?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jared, for taking the call.
Sure.
Just wanted to weigh in a few thoughts here real quick. Going back in and looking at the Mahomes draft when Kansas City took him, and you look at Mahomes coming out of Texas Tech and everybody's downing Richardson about not winning games. You got to remember, Texas Tech was a god-awful program at that time. And Patrick Mahomes kept him relevant, kept him in bowl eligibility, and all of that during his tenure. And now look at him now. So, I mean, if we have to give up draft capital in order to go get the guy, I'm for it. But if we can afford to sit at 11 and possibly he fall to us, I'm for that too. I'll take time to listen.
I don't think there is any chance. Thank you for your call, Weston. I don't think there's any chance Anthony Richardson falls to you at 11. I think there is a better chance, and I mean this. I think there is a better chance that Anthony Richardson goes number 1 overall than it is that Anthony Richardson falls to 11. I mean, I could see Frank Reich falling in love with Anthony Richardson. Hell, I'm falling in love with Anthony Richardson. And I'm not a quarterback guru coach that thinks that I have all the answers and can be the one to teach him how to play great quarterback. And let's not overlook one thing. And nobody talks about this, and I'm a little surprised by it. The Carolina Panthers signed Andy Dalton. And everybody thinks, well, Andy Dalton. But if you were to draft a quarterback and sit the quarterback on the bench, Andy Dalton is capable of starting games. He's not capable of winning a bunch of them, but he is capable of winning games. And Carolina did sign Andy Dalton. They had 3 quarterbacks that started for them last year. They weren't interested in any of those 3 guys. But they signed Andy Dalton, the same guy that Chicago signed when they drafted Justin Fields. So they do have the possibility of putting Anthony Richardson on the bench. So he's not falling to 11. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't believe for a second Indianapolis would take Will Levis over Anthony Richardson. And I know they said it on ESPN yesterday. I don't believe it. I believe that the Indianapolis Colts, this is what I think. I think the Indianapolis Colts are sitting there at 4, and they don't want to play Arizona's game because Arizona's not going to take Anthony Richardson. I think what they want or expect is quarterback, Will Anderson, quarterback. And they're fine with whatever third quarterback it is, whether it's Stroud, Young, or Richardson. What they don't want is Levis. The only way that they guarantee that they don't get Levis is if they trade up to 3. Arizona knows that. So Arizona says, everybody's calling us. Remember the Adam Schefter report? 6 teams are calling us right now because they want to move up to this pick. And that's to scare Indianapolis, to make Indianapolis move. And Indianapolis is saying, we like Will Levis. So whoever it is, if you're trading up to 3, it doesn't matter because we don't even want the guy you want. So don't even worry about it. That's worthless, Seattle, to try to move ahead of us. It's not worth your time. So they want Arizona to go defense so they can go. That's what I think it is. And maybe it's because I like Anthony Richardson, but I just know that the coach that they have is the coach who was the offensive coordinator with Jalen Hurts. And Anthony Richardson is a lot like Jalen Hurts, except he's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster, he's got a bigger arm. I mean, I think Shane Steichen wants Anthony Richardson. That's just me. Let's go to Chris, who's up next here on the program, has been waiting patiently. What's up, Chris?
Hey, buddy, how are you doing today?
Good.
All right, man. I love your show. I call in fairly often. I have not been sold on the Kool-Aid that Richardson's been all this talk about Richardson, but you've actually sold me a little bit on it today. I'm big on getting an offensive lineman to anchor our line or getting a receiver, depending on how the draft works out. But you've actually sold me today on Anthony Richardson. I didn't think I was that much into him, but all the stats and the things that you've given us to think about, it's really sunk in. So I was going to make a comparison between him and Vince Young, which I guess now, after listening to you and the last couple callers, isn't really a fair comparison because Vince Young did have a lot of talent around him at Texas, and I guess Anthony Richardson is what, 6 foot? Is that correct?
No, Anthony Richardson's 6'4".
Okay, 6'4". So Vince Young was 6'4", 240 pounds, so around the same size as Manning. They were very close.
Correct.
So Richardson is also the same size quarterback, same prototypical size that you're looking for. But he also has Vince Young. He had all these great,
Chris, I'm going to pick it up for you right there. I'm going to stop you right there, and I'm going to pick it up. Here's what's crazy about the Vince Young, and thank you for your call, too. Here's what's crazy about the Anthony Richardson-Vince Young comparisons. Because when I watched that first game this year against Utah, who, by the way, finished 10th in the country last year, when I watched Anthony Richardson single-handedly beat Utah, I thought, oh, my God, I'm watching Vince Young. And then the next week against South Florida, he was terrible. And the next week against Kentucky, he was terrible. And then I kind of wrote Anthony Richardson off. But when I look at it, and I see Anthony Richardson 6'4", 244, and I think Vince Young was 6'4", 240. I went back and I looked for Vince Young's 40 time. Vince Young was a 4'6". So that's kind of like Traylon Burke's speed, which is still fast. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Anthony Richardson is a 4'4'3". Anthony Richardson is faster than A.J. Brown. He's Vince Young's size. He's got a better arm. And he is faster than A.J. Brown. To me, that's the difference. The other thing, too, and I don't know this, and this is the one thing, it's like when you watch CNBC and they get on there and they tell you all the stocks to invest in, and right before they come back from break, they show a little graphic on the TV that says, please talk to your wealth advisor before going ahead and investing in the stocks that all these analysts are going to tell you to buy. So this is my way of saying, like, hey, there is proprietary information that I don't have access to. I don't know what the meetings were like with Anthony Richardson. I don't know how much he loves ball. You know, there was an AFC executive, I guess, that talked to Jeremy Fowler that basically said that Richardson is not a first guy in, last guy out yet, that he likes football, and he's not somebody who's distracted or anything else, but he's just not the same kind of gym rat that Peyton Manning would be. And I would say that concerns me a little bit. But we also don't know who that AFC executive is or what his agenda is or things like that. I laughed out loud. Mike Lombardi, and you guys know I like Mike Lombardi. I will say this. Whenever we would read something that Mike Lombardi wrote at The Athletic, I would always say, former general manager Mike Lombardi says, and Floyd would always roll his eyes and say, ha, 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 okay, Mike. Every time. Mike Lombardi has come out and said that C.J. Stroud is not coachable, and I laugh out loud at that because I'm thinking to myself, because a lot of people, I saw these people in Cleveland where Lombardi was the general manager. These people on the radio in Cleveland were like, he's just trying to be relevant. He doesn't have a clue. He just is so bad. He's so trying to be. I'm like, guys, Mike Lombardi's kid is the offensive coordinator for the Raiders. Don't you think the Raiders would like it out there that C.J. Stroud's not coachable? We've been told that the Raiders wanted to move up to 1. They want either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. They're not interested in anybody else. Well, we're hearing that Houston may back out at 2. So if that's the case, then maybe the Raiders could move to 3 and take C.J. Stroud. But we got to think about those things this time of the year. When somebody is saying something, why are they saying it? Who is telling it to them? When Mike Lombardi says C.J. Stroud's not coachable, I don't take that to mean that C.J. Stroud's not coachable. I take that to Mike Lombardi's putting that out there, hoping that he can drum up, some dissent among C.J. Stroud and that the Raiders can try to jump in on it where his kid's the offensive coordinator. 615-737-1025. More of your phone, 615-737-1025. Now, there is one crowd that I keep hearing from when it comes to what the Titans should do at quarterback and that they maybe shouldn't worry about it this year because next year's class might be better. We'll get to that and then more of your phones. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback.
185! Take!
That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown!
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter. But it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
In football, we all take our hits, but protection, that keeps you in the game. That's why I always wear a helmet and pads on the field. Life, too, comes with risks, so I got vaccinated and boosted for COVID-19. Hi, this is former Tennessee Titans tackle Brad Hopkins. Talk to your doctor. Get the information you need to make an informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Protect yourself and your family against COVID-19.
For more information, go to nflagearup.org/Tennessee.
Men, this is Evan Bass with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and I've been helping men with sexual health issues for many years. I've seen the pain and anxiety that men walk into the clinic with when erectile dysfunction is affecting them. And I also know the heartache and difficulty it can bring to their partner. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've been successfully treating men for ED for many years now. We've seen the amazing impacts that those treatments have on a man's confidence and positivity. And we've seen the wonderful things those treatments also do for a man's relationship. That's why I'm pleased to announce that we are now offering the same great services we offer at our Nashville clinic at our new location in Franklin. which will make it much more convenient for those men living south of Nashville to get treated. So call us today and book your appointment at our Midtown location or at our new clinic in Cool Springs. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatment, sex, results vary.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
What if you could do business without busy work? With Ramp, you can. Ramp is the future of finance with smart automation, corporate cards, and spend management. Just imagine, no more expense reports or shuffling wrinkled receipts. No more slogging through invoices or getting surprised by unexpected charges. Just your business's big idea with smart spend controls, automation that crushes busy work, and real-time insights so you can make it happen. In other words, Ramp completely reimagined finance to make it work for your business. Get set up, issue corporate cards, and start making payments in less than 15 minutes. See how Ramp does finance. Join today and get $250 just for signing up. Just go to ramp.com/offer. That's ramp.com/offer to get $250 for signing up. That's ramp.com/offer.
Bon appetit. Take some Titans.
Derrick Henry.
Some Preds.
Roman Yossi.
Even some hoops.
Light fires.
Wow. Put it in a blender. And what do you have? Jason Michelle.
Pretty incredible.
Call or text and weigh in.
The fastest 2 hours in sports radio. Weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What do you think Tennessee does with this upcoming draft, and what do you think they do with that position?
Yeah, you know what? I think Tennessee is that sleeper team that people are starting to talk about a little bit more in making that move to go do something at the quarterback position. Tannehill's, certainly been a good quarterback here, consistent, but does he, to your point, does he take you to the next level? Do you feel like you can win a championship? They got close, right? They almost won the AFC a couple years back, but were unable to get it over the top. I got to think internally, they're probably going to want to hit a reset possibly now that Rand Carthon, who's the new general manager, may want to make a stamp and put a stamp on this football team. I do. I think that they're going to do something on draft day. I don't think the Titans stay still at 11. I think something happens within the organization and they make some type of move. But I do think I don't know if they'll go all the way to 3. Meaning I think they're going to wait and possibly look at number 6 for Detroit, possibly pop in there. Possibly pop in where maybe Chicago moves back a little bit more, or Atlanta wants to move back just a little bit. But I just think the Titans will do something because I think they realize that they have a good quarterback, but they don't have a great quarterback, and you're just not going to have a chance to win enough games with just a good quarterback at this level anymore.
There you go. That was Mark Dominic, former NFL general manager on SiriusXM NFL Radio. So one thing I do hear, and you guys know I want Anthony Richardson. He says, I don't think they're going to trade up to 3, but I want him. I do, and I think the only way you're going to get him is if he is there at 3. I don't think he lasts past 3 or 4, and you're not going to trade with the Colts. But one thing I keep hearing from people that say, well, next year's quarterback class. Next year. Caleb Williams, Drake May, next year. And I was listening to Pat Kerwin, who, again, has done this for a long time. He was a scout. He was an executive. He's been in the media for forever. He's on NFL radio on SiriusXM. And Pat Kerwin was saying that this idea that everybody has about next year, I can't articulate it, or if I do, you won't listen to me. But listen to what he says about the next year crowd.
And I love when they say, that next year's quarterbacks will be better. No, come on. First off, are you going to be in a position to take one? No one knows that. My boss told me, that was the first thing he said. Look, you can't tell me what we're getting, what place we're in next year, and you can't tell me who we're going to be able to pick. You could miss the greatest quarterback in the history of football by one spot. So that's why he always took a quarterback, because he got burned in his early years of drafting, not doing that.
I mean, look, man, if you've got the chance, you got to take it, in my opinion, because Drake May and Caleb Williams may be great. But you might win the AFC South this year. You had everything bad happen to you last year, and you were still 2 minutes away from winning the division. So you may never be here again. And Drake may and Caleb Williams may go 1-2, and the teams that get the picks at 1-2, they may not trade them. If Denver is picking number 1 next year, you think they'll trade that pick? You think they'll say, well, you know what, we'll stay with Russell long term because someone's going to give us 3 number 1s? No. They're going to draft the quarterback. They're not going to trade with you. Let's go to Tim, who's up next here on Anthony Richardson. Thank you for calling and waiting. What's up, Tim?
Hey, just real quick, I heard on Chasing Junnie this morning that Anthony Richardson wrote an open letter to all GMs in some publication. I apologize, I don't know the publication.
Sure.
But it just basically gave his backstory and where his head is at as far as, what he has to offer as far as being drafted. And I'm curious to get your opinions on that, or if you had seen it or had a chance to read it.
Sure, it's in the Players Tribune. I'll just say this, I don't care. Because I think things like that are, I don't want to say agent-driven for sure, but most times it's agent-driven. Most times it's a little fluff. Let's put it out there. Let's find a way to put it out there. Let's try to be heartfelt. Let's try to, and I'm not interested in that. I mean, all the stuff about the backstory and talking to the league. And see, it's funny because the letter is, for the GMs, right? This is for the GMs out there. I want you to hear my story. The GMs that are interested in you, that are going to pick you, Indianapolis, Houston, Tennessee, Vegas, Atlanta, they're bringing you in for a visit. So they're going to learn your backstory. Like, they've probably got people behind the scenes that are doing things about your backstory, things about you that you may not even know. Because you become, once they pick you, the most important person in a billion-dollar organization. So, I mean, you think that Mike Vrabel is going to read what somebody writes and says, I read this essay that he wrote, or do you think Vrabel is going to take what Anthony Richardson tells him next week when he visits and just the vibe he gets on what is essentially a job interview and go with that? So the whole, he wrote a letter, I don't care about that. I will tell you, when I watched that Georgia tape of Anthony Richardson today, I really felt like if Anthony Richardson wasn't tough, or if Anthony Richardson was a loser, or if he was a crybaby, that he would have quit in that game. Because he got hurt early, and he was ineffective because he couldn't run for the first half. And I don't know if they gave him a little shotty shot at halftime. I don't know. But he was a different guy in the second half, and they stayed in the game. And I do think Billy Napier at Florida is kind of a bozo. And so I try to factor all that in when it comes to, Anthony Richardson at Florida. I'm like, I felt like he kept him in the game. Ian, we've got a text into the text line that I just don't know with these people sometimes. I'll tell you, I don't know where they think. Texter says, Josh Allen, in my opinion, isn't going to get much better than he already is, which isn't great, says the texter. Good, but not great. Tannehill-like. So I feel like it's a bad comparison of Richardson to Josh Allen. Oh, my God. Where do you people come up with this stuff? Like, I seriously wonder where some of you get these opinions. Like the idea that, Josh Allen ain't that good. What? Josh Allen is a top 4 quarterback in this league no matter who you rank. You can talk to anybody. You can talk to somebody that hates Buffalo, and they will rank Josh Allen in the top 4. There's not even a quarterback that you can rank ahead of him. Like, it's not, you're going to rank Dak Prescott ahead of Josh Allen? No. You're going to put Justin Herbert ahead of Josh Allen? No. You're going to put Lamar Jackson ahead of Josh Allen? No. If you're in Cincinnati and you say our quarterback's better than their quarterback, fine, you can make that argument. If you're in Kansas City, okay. But I don't want to hear that Josh Allen is not as good as Justin Fields. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Sometimes I'll tell you. Texter into the text line says, watching interviews, you can get a sense of does a guy have composure, intellect, and in-depth thinking for his explanations. I need my quarterback to have that on and off the field. I see that immediately with Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow. I do not see that when it comes to Anthony Richardson. That's from Ryan in Nashville. Now, remember one thing. Anthony Richardson is 20 years old. And I didn't follow Anthony Richardson at Florida. So I couldn't tell you that, Anthony Richardson acted like a baby in that game against LSU, because I don't know. Where I was impressed with Jalen Hurts was the fact that Jalen Hurts got benched and didn't quit on his team and didn't cry about it and didn't bring diversion into the Alabama program, and that when Tua got hurt in the SEC championship game, Jalen's number was called and Jalen won them the SEC. Well, I can't judge Anthony Richardson in that spot because he's never been put in that spot. I know he was battling with Emory Jones at the beginning of last year with Dan Mullen, but again, I don't know anything about that. And we're talking about a guy at the time who was 19 years old. Texter says, apparently somebody said, dating back to the 80s, there have been 29 teams that moved up in the draft to take a quarterback, and only 4 were successful quarterbacks in the NFL. Well, I'm just going to tell it to you like this. Right now in the AFC, there's 3 quarterbacks that everybody wishes they had, except for apparently that last texter who thinks Josh Allen sucks. There's 3 quarterbacks. There's Burrow, who was taken number 1 overall. There's Allen, who Buffalo traded up for. And there's Mahomes, who Kansas City traded up for. So you can give me all the stats about how, they traded up for RG3 and that didn't work, and they traded up for Michael Vick, and you can give me all that you want. But right now, the guys that you wish you had, Buffalo traded up. Kansas City traded up. So I don't want to hear about that. That to me it doesn't matter. What matters here is the player. That's what matters. Is the player good enough? And right now, I'll tell you, Anthony Richardson's not. He's talented enough. He's not good enough. You have to coach him up. You have to make him good enough. But he's got the potential to do that. What's TD call that? Plutonium potential?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, that's what we're talking about here. And I want plutonium-like potential. And I don't want some bozo like Norm Chow to screw it up like they did with Vince Young. Nashville's best deal of the week is Joyland in East Nashville. Get half off a $30 gift card at theGameNashville.com/deals and enjoy the best burger in town. Find some joy today and eat Joyland for half off with Nashville's best deal of the week at theGameNashville.com. So everybody has a different opinion about one guy. And I'm just going to tell you that while I don't have a set opinion, I do know where he's going to go in the draft. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company on Fireball Hot Take Friday, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
Most people pick them to make the playoffs before the season even started.
And your source for Nashville sports.
He can still wait for 5 more games before he makes that decision.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Michelle Knezvik here for Superbook Sports. Baseball is back and the push for the postseason is on for hockey and hoops. Make it all count this spring with Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports is the best wagering app around with a direct line to experienced bookmakers behind the counter in the one and only Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, get a $250 bonus when you sign up, deposit, and wager all in the same day. Don't let spring pass you by without winning some money with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Genesis Diamond's most anticipated event of the year is coming next weekend, April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Huge store-wide savings, plus the unveiling of thousands of new, unique designs from the biggest names in jewelry. All new collections from names like Tacori, Verragio, and more. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, many never seen before, all specially priced. Save up to 35% store-wide and get zero interest financing. Special pricing on natural and lab-grown diamonds, April 21st through the 23rd. Only at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills, and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Experience the crisp, clean, smooth, and refreshing pure agave flavor of Dulce Vida Tequila. Dulce Vida Tequila is made using only 100% USDA certified organic blue agave that is harvested from Los Altos, Mexico. Dulce Vida Blanco is additive-free and gluten-free. Try it for yourself. 1.5 ounce of Dulce Vida Blanco Tequila, 4 ounces of sparkling water, and a squeeze of lime for a delicious ranch water cocktail that is less than 100 calories. Dulce Vida Tequila, pure and simple.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Now, your Game Center update.
This Game Center update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The Nashville Predators will wrap up their season tonight when they host the Colorado Avalanche. The Preds will miss the postseason for the first time since the 2013-2014 season. Nashville did a good job hanging in the playoff race after the trade deadline and dealing with all the injuries. Incoming GM Barry Trotz joined Stillman and company on Thursday and shared his feelings about how the team played down the stretch.
What I liked, you see that happen to another couple teams in the league, and they basically tumbled, and our guys didn't. We've got 9-10 guys out of our lineup, and we keep finding ways to win. Obviously, having a goaltender that we do, and Saros gives us a leg up on other teams, but it's undeniable the effort and the commitment of those young guys. That's a cultural thing, and that's something that I'm really proud of.
Puck drop for Preds versus Avs is set for 7, with pregame at 6 right here on the Preds Radio Network. In some NFL news, former Titans outside linebacker Bud Dupree has signed a 1-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons, and the Nashville Sounds are back in action tonight hosting Norfolk. Coverage begins at 6:20 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 106.3.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 1025, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live, thanks to Superbook Sports. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Fireball Hot Take Friday. We're live at Bridgestone Arena, where the Predators will have the season finale tonight against the Colorado Avalanche. This is a makeup game from the Thanksgiving weekend when the pipe burst and it flooded the arena. Ian, is the whole rest of the league done?
I think maybe.
So this is the last hockey game of the NHL regular season tonight. Making me sad. So, as we get
Actually, Buffalo and Columbus play tonight. But
did Columbus have to move a game because of...
I believe it was the Buffalo snowstorm. I want to say it was that blizzard game that they had to also postpone. But
okay.
Sorry to interrupt. Yes.
No, that's okay. There's a second game. So we're in what I call lying season, where people will tell you things that are not true because they're being told those things by the team. And I don't have any problem with that. But one thing that I do find fascinating is how many people are all over the place when it comes to Hendon Hooker. Last week, I texted a former general manager in the NFL, and I said, hey, would you think it's crazy for the Titans to take Hendon Hooker at 11? And the former GM said, I would think it's crazy, but Hooker's apparently all over the board. And you know I love my former general managers, but when I listen to a Mike Tannenbaum just go goo-goo for gaga when it comes to freaking Hendon Hooker, and then I listen to Bill Polian say, the knee might push him into the second round, who knows, I'm a little torn. But the one thing I know, Mel Kiper Jr. says he's got a late second-round grade on Hendon Hooker. The one thing that I know, and I'm just going to tell you this straight, Ian, dun, 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 I'm ready to guarantee Hendon Hooker, ladies and gentlemen, I guarantee that Hendon Hooker will be drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. And I'm going to tell you why. And again, I like Hooker. I thought Hooker was a good college quarterback. But I also understand the idea that Tennessee runs a gimmick offense where they split everybody outside the numbers and they make you go man for man, and nobody has four corners in college that can run with four receivers, and so they just wait for the guy to get wide open and he throws it. But I do think he's got a good arm. I think he's a good leader. I think that he brought that program back to relevance. I think he makes everybody around him better. I think he handles adversity well. I like Hooker. But the reason why he's going to go in the first round is because after him, there is nobody else. And I'm not saying that the mock draft guys, the gurus, I'm not saying that they are the end-all, be-all, but Dane Brugler has a big draft guide called The Beast. And if you're a subscriber to The Athletic, like I am, you get it for free, which is good because Joe's writing has really fallen off lately. Where the columns at from Joe? So, anywho, and they don't even have Adam Vingan there anymore, who used to have some takes. And so now at least I pay, and I get a little bit of this. But I will say this when it comes to his guide. He's got all the quarterbacks ranked. And after Hendon Hooker, the sixth best quarterback in the draft is Jake Haener, who he's got a fourth-round grade on. Then there's Aiden O'Connell at Purdue, who also has a fourth-round grade. And that doesn't mean that they're for sure fourth-round guys, because some people thought Bailey Zappi would be a fifth- or sixth-round guy, and New England took him in the fourth, and he's not a bad quarterback. But what it does tell me is that over the last 2 years, we have had a very shallow, young influx of quarterbacks. I don't know if COVID had something to do that. I doubt it. I just think it may be the way it is. And so what's happened is a lot of teams that want young quarterbacks have not been able to get them. In fact, outside of Brock Purdy, who has been drafted over the last couple of years, where a team can say, hey, this young guy is a dude going forward. Because I don't think that even teams that drafted 2 years ago, the Jets can't say that. They don't have a young quarterback, and they will need eventually a young quarterback that's good. I think there are still questions about Mac Jones, though I do think that Belichick screwed him up more than anything else. Last year, we already know Malik Willis isn't any good. We already know it's time to move on. And the Titans know that too. So outside of the Steelers and Jacksonville, how many teams over the last couple of years feel good about their future at quarterback? Everybody's tried it, too. You tried it with Malik Willis. Minnesota tried it with Kellen Mond. Tampa Bay tried it with Kyle Trask. You draft a guy in the second or the third round, and you hope it works. Well, for the most part, again, outside of Brock Purdy, those guys haven't worked. So now what teams are doing is they're in a situation similar to you, similar to the Raiders, where it's, man, we need a young quarterback. That's what they think. And instead of we'll take that guy in the second round. Those guys don't exist this year. I would assume that 4 quarterbacks go within the top 15 picks of this year's class. Then after that, it's Hendon Hooker and then nobody. And so if you're one of these teams that wants to get a young quarterback and you want to sit him behind your aging veteran that you know is not going to be your guy forever, Geno Smith in Seattle, Jared Goff in Detroit, Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, if you want to do that, you got to draft him in the first round. People talk about the fifth-year option and that the fifth-year option may be a reason why teams want Hooker. I don't think the fifth-year option matters anymore. These guys don't even want to play on the fifth-year option. You know, these guys, Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, they're not playing on the fifth-year option. Zach Wilson's not even getting to the fifth year. So I think teams have decided they have their minds made up before 5 years now anyways. So I don't think when it comes to Hooker, the fifth-year option and having him for his age 30 season, I don't think that that's what matters. What I think really matters is the fact that there's nobody else. So if you're one of these teams and you're looking at your roster and you're projecting your franchise outward and you're saying, well, who's going to be our young quarterback? We're Seattle. We made the playoffs last year. We've got this gift of a pick at 5 from the Denver Broncos, but we're not going to be able to get the quarterback that we like, so let's get a game-changing defensive player. But we still need a young quarterback. Well, you'll have to use your other first-round pick in order to do it. I am convinced that there are just too many teams that are not sure of their future. They're sure of their current at quarterback, but they're not sure of their future. That all of a sudden teams are going to say, you know what? We like Hendon. Let's do it. Let's do it because we don't want to get stuck in either banking on next year's quarterbacks or Max Duggan or Stetson Bennett or Tanner McKee or Clayton Tune. Let's not try to pull a rabbit out of our tush. Let's get the last guy. Everything is supply and demand. And because the last 2 years there have not been a lot of good young quarterbacks that have come into the league, all these teams are searching. What nobody wants to be is what Tampa Bay is right now, which is a team that has no quarterback and no direction. What you don't want to be is what Vegas is now. A team that's got Devontae Adams, a team that had Darren Waller, a team that's got the leading rusher, and they're band-aiding the quarterback with Jimmy Garoppolo. You don't want to be that. And so you want a young quarterback who's got talent, who you can develop into a franchise guy. You want what Philadelphia got when they drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round. But that guy doesn't exist. So the only guy to take is Hooker, and you can't wait on him. 615-737-1025. I guarantee Hendon Hooker goes in the first round. Mel Kiper Jr., late second round grade. Corey Curtis, News 2, will join us next on the program. 615-737-1025. Do not miss our draft coverage right here. That's right. On Thursday night of the draft, less than 2 weeks away, join me, Derek Mason, Chris Sanders, and we will broadcast live from Twin Peaks in Cool Springs, home of the 29-degree beer, on Thursday, April 27th. So get excited about that. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
When it comes to Nashville sports,
locking up Jeffrey Simmons, clearly that was a priority for them.
He knows his stuff.
A little bit good, a little bit bad.
And knows how to push the right buttons.
He's coming off an ACL tear, and he's 25 years old, so you cannot ignore that.
Join Outkick's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company. Withrow.
What I hate more than anything is people that are phony and not true to themselves.
Is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormonal deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve your quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
Family Leisure invites you to vacation at home with your family with a new spa, pool, patio furniture, or wood play gym this summer.
I really want a spa.
Family Leisure has 40 spas on display from 3 of the biggest brand names: Artesian, Best Spas, and American Select. Prices starting as low as $29.99.
What about above ground pools?
Family Leisure has hundreds of pools in stock and on sale. Guaranteed installation before Memorial Day, starting as low as $29.99. Installed.
Wow, that's great.
If you're looking at a spa, I want some new patio furniture. Family Leisure has patio furniture from all the big brand names like Hanneman, Woodard, Jensen, and Apricity. There's more than 100 sets on display to choose from with free delivery.
That sounds good to me, too. And maybe a new Sabre infrared grill to go with it?
We really should look at the wood play gym for the kids. Family Leisure has the Diamond Point swing set on sale at only $24.99 installed. It's Family Leisure's Vacation at Home sale going on now at both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Joyland in East Nashville. Joyland is a fun new concept by celebrity chef Sean Brock, inspired by his love for cheeseburgers, shakes, buttermilk biscuits, fries, and fried chicken. Get half off a $30 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals and enjoy the best burger in town. Find some joy today and eat Joyland for half off with Nashville's best deal of the week. That's thegamenashville.com/deals.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/FREE. ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company here on the program. So we have got, I don't know if we're going to be able to talk Anthony Richardson every single day, but I am bordering on obsessed. I do feel like I've lost my objectivity. All the talk has been about the Titans and moving up for a quarterback. Deep down inside, my heart tells me that it's Arizona trying to scare the Colts into trading up to 3. I hope that's not true because I hope the Titans are going to do it, and I hope they're going to draft Anthony Richardson. Corey Curtis, News 2, joins us on the program on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Corey, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, obviously, he is a freakishly athletic young man. And I heard you ranting some about your newfound love affair for Anthony Richardson yesterday. And to hear you on it 2 days in a row, has me a little concerned. It's a lot of consistency. I just, believe me, if you want to draft him 3 and you think he's the stuff, go for it. I have no problem with that. I just ask you, how do you get past the 53% completion percentage not being a concern?
Because when John Elway was 21, he was 58.5. When Joe Burrow was 22 at LSU in his first year, he was 57. Josh Allen, when he was 20, was 56.
So you just chalk it up to age and inexperience, which is a perfectly reasonable argument.
I mean, I will tell you this. His mechanics, and, I'm not a guru or anything like that, but I mean, he needs to sit now. Like, he needs to work on – I watched the Georgia tape this morning. He made some throws, Corey, that honestly almost made me tear up. I was so excited. Then he'd miss a guy wide open in the middle of the field. And so he's got to be more consistent. But I do believe that you can teach a guy footwork and fundamentals.
Well, you know what this sounds exactly like? A guy that they drafted out of Alcorn State a quarter century ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's pretty much it, right?
And not only that, When they drafted him at number 3, the general manager at the time came out right away and said he's going right to the bench. And if the Titans were to take Anthony Richardson, I would expect Mike Vrabel to go right upstairs at St. Thomas Sports Park and say he's going right to the bench and Ryan Tannehill is the starting quarterback.
And I think all of this makes a lot of sense from the aspect of the timing with Tannehill's contract is perfect for this because you got one more year to go. And, there's no reason to not start Ryan Tannehill this year. Keep him. You're going to pay him, have him go out there and play. He gives you the best chance to win this year, probably without question. And the kid can do what he needs to do, which is to sit and to learn. Because, like you said, he hasn't played a whole lot of football. He's not very old, and taking in the pro game and getting in a preseason and all that is the best stuff that he can absolutely do. And here's the other thing that we don't talk about enough. You don't want to be picking 11th or lower again. I mean, because if you are, you had a terrible year. And so, if you're not planning on picking lower than 11th again, you better take your quarterback now because you're going to have a hard time getting a shot later on.
If you own the team and Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel came up to you and said, we know he's raw, but we think he's got Mahomes potential, we think he's got Allen potential, we think he's got it, it's going to cost a 1, a 2, next year's 1, next year's 3 in order to get up to 3 with Arizona. If Rand and Mike said they wanted to do it, would you do it if you own the team?
That's what I'm paying them, and the decision those are the decisions I'm paying them to make. And so if they say he's worth it, then absolutely go and do it. But no, if you're wrong, you're probably fired. And they know that. I mean, that goes with the job. That if you're not ready to make those big decisions and understand the consequences that come with them, you're not ready for the job. It's that simple.
Are you worried? Corey Curtis, News 2 is our guest. Are you worried? I hear a lot of I like the talent, but this team just has so many needs. Are you in that camp? Are you worried about the needs of the team?
I'm not at all. I'm not at all because what it comes down to, if you can get Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow, you do it because those don't grow on trees. It's just that simple. You can go and get the other stuff later to put around them, but the opportunity to get that kind of player whenever it's there, you have to take it. It's a lot easier to find a guy to play left guard than it is to find a guy to excel at quarterback in the National Football League. It's a lot easier to find some pass rushers or some cornerbacks than it is to find a successful quarterback in the National Football League. It is. And so, again, if you think a guy is the stuff, you've got to go do it. It's the most important position in all of professional sports. I know they've got other needs, but I also know it's easier to find and fill those needs than it is to fill this one. And you don't want to be picking 11th again. It's that simple. And if you have a good quarterback, everything else, if you're decent at your job, you can work out. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow has had a horrible offensive line for 2 years, and he has masked it pretty darn well.
How would you feel about the Titans' offensive coaching staff being able to develop a quarterback?
It's hard to say because so much of it's new. I mean, you've got a new quarterbacks coach. You've got a new offensive line coach. Who's coaching wide receivers this year?
It's still Rob Moore.
It's okay. So we changed running backs coach. You've got a lot in there, that's new. I know Pat O'Hara is still on the staff. So, it's kind of a roll of the dice. I don't know what London's track record is for developing quarterbacks. I probably should have a better handle on that than I do. But again, you hired these guys for a reason. You have to trust them to do the job you've employed them to do. If they can't do it, guess what? It's just going to be missing the draft pick. You're going to get fired.
Corey Curtis, News 2 is our guest. What do you make of the rumor that came out of ESPN yesterday that Indianapolis prefers Will Levis over Anthony Richardson and is willing to stick at 4 and take Levis?
I don't believe anything I hear this time of the year because people float stuff all the time. I think to see what people's reactions are, to see if they can get a lean one way or another on where people are going, because every quarterback gets floated, at some point. they get moved up. Supposedly the Bucks are in love with Will Levis. And look, if the Colts want to take Will Levis, they're doing you a favor, right? So just take him. And so,
well, they're doing you a favor if he sucks. They're not doing you a favor if he becomes a star.
No, well, absolutely. But I think most people are on board that think he's not going to be very good, right?
So you think he sucks?
I don't. Look, I wouldn't take him. Not in the top 10. I see him, and you know what I see? I see Blaine Gabbert. That's what I see.
What do you think about Hendon Hooker, Corey?
I love Hendon Hooker. I do. I mean, if I'm the Titans, I love the idea of trading back to like 18 and getting more picks and taking Hendon Hooker. I love that. I do.
You do that, though, there's a chance that he may go at 16 or 17 or something like that.
You're right. He also could go 4th or 5th.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't know. But I loved what Hendon Hooker did last year. I love the person. I love the arm talent. I like Hendon Hooker more than I like Will Levis. I do. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And there's a big part of me, like I said, if you knew you could trade back to 18 and get an extra, 3rd and a 4th or whatever, I don't know however much you got. I don't have the points chart in front of me.
You probably would need a first-round pick to do that, but yes.
Okay, so you're going to get more, all right, and you get the quarterback that you like. I mean, there's a lot of that to me is more attractive than dumping, 2 1s and a 2 and a 3 and taking a shot on Richardson.
Oh, I so disagree.
Well, you could disagree all you want, but I'm getting more players, and I got a quarterback who I feel like I know a lot more about.
I want the talent. I want the as TD says it, plutonium-like talent. I want that. And Hooker.
Freakishly athletic.
Hooker, I like. I have a lot of respect for Hooker. I think he'll be a solid NFL quarterback, and he's definitely safer than Anthony Richardson. But I want the talent, Corey.
You know what? And if that's what you want, I'm not going to argue that with you because look, you know me. I grew up a Chicago Bears fan, and I have seen more bad quarterback play than just about anyone on the planet. And I've seen the Bears reach and go for more bad quarterbacks in the draft than you could ever imagine. But you have to keep trying because until you get that position right, you pretty much have no chance. Mm-hmm. And so it's like when they picked Mitch Trubisky. I didn't necessarily agree with it, but their GM at the time, Ryan Pace, loved Mitch Trubisky, fell in love with him. So you know what? It was the right move to make, and it cost him his job. And just like you're saying with Anthony Richardson, if you think he's the next Elway, you pay whatever you have to do to go get him. You absolutely do, but you have to be prepared to die with the consequences of it. Mm-hmm. But I do agree with you. If you think he's Mahomes, if you think he's Elway, then go for it. Absolutely.
Fireball Hot Take Friday. Corey Curtis is with us. Corey, your hot take this week.
Yuso Parsonen, the most awesome goal in Preds history.
Do you know why I feel bad about that goal last night? I was sitting on the other side of the stadium, and I saw the puck go in the net, but I didn't see any of the behind the legs, between, up over the cross. I didn't see any of that. Like, I just saw the pass from McDonough, and the puck goes in the net, and it's like, all right, they won. And then everybody on Twitter's like, that was an incredible goal. I'm like, I mean, it was a goal. Like, then I saw the replay, I'm like, holy crap.
Goal. You know what I like more than the goal? The chutzpah to do it with the game on the line. Mm-hmm. That's what I like. The courage, the confidence, the ego to say, yeah, I know the game's at stake. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to pants this goalie on national television.
Well, you know what I like? The fact that you use the word chutzpah. That makes me feel closer to you in my people's vernacular. Corey Curtis, News 2, as always. Corey, great stuff. Appreciate it. We'll talk next week.
All right, it's almost here. I love the NFL offseason as much as I do the regular season.
Well, I'll say this. You say it's almost here like it's a good thing. I hear it's almost here, and I think it's a bad thing. Like, I'm sad. Like, I like doing this. Talking about the same thing over and over and over and over again. Corey, great stuff. We'll see you.
Thanks. Bye.
Yep, Corey Curtis joining us on the program. All right, speaking of that, we are going to take a breather from talking Anthony Richardson. I feel like, how many segments do we have in a week? Like 64 or something like that? Or, no, we have way more than that. What do we have?
That's a good question.
16 times 4? Or no, excuse me, 16 times 5?
Yeah.
What is that? Hold on, I got my phone out. 16 times 5, 80. We have 80 segments in a week. How many segments this week do you think that we have talked Anthony Richardson so far? 50?
That sounds about right.
Okay.
I was going to say at least probably half.
We're going to take an Anthony Richardson breather. Barry Trotz came on the show yesterday. We asked him straight up about the coach, what he said, and trying to dissect what we think it means. We'll get to that coming up next. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. That's right. I love FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, and you can turn crossovers into cash with FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/JGM right now and place a $50 bet, and you'll get an instant $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Ja Morant versus LeBron James. And I told you guys this week how much I hate the NBA right now, and I do because sometimes the players absolutely tick me off. But Ja Morant versus LeBron James should be fascinating. FanDuel's got great promotions every day, a safe and secure app, and you can get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Go to FanDuel.com/JGM and sign up to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet your first $5. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after. Receipt restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
It's the final week of the regular season for the Nashville Predators.
And the shot is score! Predators, Kelly on the power play.
As they return home to Bridgestone Arena.
That's what this time of year is about. You want to be able to enjoy it.
Puck is blasted at Saros and makes the stop.
We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's time for another Kubota field event at Coleman Tractor of White House. Their biggest sale event of the year will take place in White House on Saturday, April 22nd. Don't miss this perfect opportunity to demo Kubota tractors, zero-turn mowers, and more. Take advantage of Kubota's competitive financing offers. Receive a coupon for up to $250 off select purchases. Plus, enter to win prizes and free barbecue lunch from 11 to 1. Try it and buy it during the Kubota field event Saturday, April 22nd from 9 to 2 p.m. at Coleman Tractor of White House at 3613 Highway 31 West.
Genesis Diamond's spectacular spring store-wide sale is coming April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. 3 incredible days of store-wide savings. Up to 35% off engagement rings, earrings, bracelets, wedding bands, plus special financing. Even Genesis GIA-certified diamonds are marked down. Lab-grown diamonds, too. Plus, top jewelry designers are flying in with all new amazing designs. You can't miss this annual event. Save up to $10,000 on some items. It's April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd only. And only at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Jasper's on West End Avenue is your neighborhood bar and restaurant. They offer a fun atmosphere with a game room, TVs, a large bar, lounge area, and patio seating. Plus, free parking. That's right, free parking on West End. Come into Jasper's today to enjoy their elevated bar fare and well-crafted cocktails, along with other weekly specials like happy hour, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m., and brunch Friday through Monday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's Jasper's on West End, Nashville's place to gather, play, eat, and drink.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
April was a busy hiring month for Cromwell Media, the owner of this radio station. We're saluting 3 teammates for 8 years of service. Cliff McCardle, our promotions director, and Jared Stillman and Ian Safar on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Janet Gers in our business office passes the 6-year mark. And Junnie Riddle in promotions and Lance Mackey in sales are celebrating 2 years with us. These folks are making a difference every day. Come join our amazing team. Send us your resume at together@cromwellmedia.com. That's together@cromwellmedia.com.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Stonecrest in Smyrna offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at this location specialize in hand, knee, shoulder, hip, foot, ankle, and spine. Make better use of your time at Houston Clinic Orthopedics with on-site diagnostics and testing, timely appointments, and easy access to the facility. Get back to enjoying life. Schedule your appointment online at tn.houston.com. Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Stonecrest in Smyrna. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike three.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
Hey Nashville, Trey Wingo here. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
What would your evaluation be of what you've seen out of John Hines?
Well, I come here with basically after the trade deadline, and he's got a young team right now, and he's done a really good job in that sense. But there's been two seasons, one with a lot of the older players and one with a lot of the younger players. So the evaluation process is make sure that we have the right players, the right coach, so that everything matches. So that's something that you'll go through. I try not to get in the way with John. We have a great relationship, because I understand the rhythms and some of the things that coaches go through. A lot of times, even you're watching and then you end up talking to the kids. We have coaches that become friends over the years, and then you find out teams playing as hard as they can, but half their stars are banged up or hurt or sick or whatever, and no one really knows that, and no one really cares. And you go through some tough times because of that, because of you don't know how travel gets you, how much you have to play and extend some guys. You don't know if guys have been sleeping, all that. So I get that, but I know the rhythm of the coach. I know the feelings of the coach, and I think by being a coach for so long, I can say hopefully the right thing at the right time, so that we work together. I think it's very, very important that a coach and a general manager work together. And sometimes it's perceived that they're like this, that you're hired and then do your thing and get some distance. I'm not a big believer in that. I think where everybody's in together. I think you're in a partnership with your players. You're in partnership with your coaches, and you're in partnership with ownership. And if you can get all those elements lined up, then you're going to have success.
Barry Trotz on our show yesterday, future Preds general manager. He said he's going to evaluate John Hines. I asked what the evaluation was, and he had that. That was a lot of words there, Ian.
Yes, it was.
A lot of words. So then I followed up, and I basically asked him, do you foresee John being a part of the future? Here's what Barry Trotz said.
Well, I think everything, people make a lot of things up with coaches, I always say to coaches, coach the roster you're given. And sometimes you're given a roster that limits you in some things, and you have to adjust in others. So, my vision for our hockey team, I want to be faster. I want to be a little bit more offensive. I want to be able to, be really good on the power play. I think the power play slipped this year. So we're trying to draft those guys. You look at into the future. You look at a Evangelista. You look at a Tomasino. Those type of players are valuable for our future because they've got great offensive instincts. You need to play a style with guys like Roman Josi, who is considered an offensive D, but probably more of a rover D, which is the new style. And then you have a guy like Tyson Berry, who is probably an offensive D, who supplements the offense. So I want to be more offensive, and I think John has done a really good job. Like, we didn't give him much after the trade deadline between injuries and moving forward players. He adjusted the team, and they really tightened up in some areas, So, but to me, we've had two teams. We've had a veteran team and a young team. So that's going to be all evaluated. And I do know this: John is a very good coach in the National Hockey League. I listen in the meetings. I try to keep my mouth shut. That's a good staff in there, and it's going to be just fit. And that's you're asking me a hard question. I can't even answer that right now. I think I have to go through all the processes that you go through all the time. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to give the coaches some time to get some separation so I can get my thoughts together and process all the information, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so Caroline heard that yesterday when we were interviewing Barry, and she texted me, "He gone." So she heard that and thought that meant that Hines out of here. I heard it when he said it, but thought, I need to go back and listen to it where I'm not, engaged in the interview. And I did this morning, and I heard it again just there. Ian, and I'm taking my own personal feelings out of this because I think everybody knows how I feel about the coaching situation here. But I don't think Barry revealed anything one way or another about the coach there. Was there anything in there that led you to believe that he showed his hand on what he may do with the coach after tonight?
Nothing blatantly obvious that really sticks out. He's trying to, leave it a little bit open-ended. More evaluation still to come.
Do you think he needs more evaluation?
Probably not.
You think Barry's made up his mind?
I don't know if he's made up his mind necessarily, but I'm not sure, what else he could see at this point after the season that could maybe influence him.
So I think Barry has made up his mind.
Maybe he has.
I don't know what his mind. I did not get a feel from Barry Trotz. And again, I am trying to remove my own feelings and I don't think Hines did a horrible job this year. I think Barry's right. A tale of two seasons. The high expectation. There were not expectations, and it was entertaining and fun. But at the same time, my feelings are, he's had 4 years. It is what it is. Move on. Bring in the next guy, and let's get this puppy rolling. But the one thing I will say that I felt like when I went back and listened to it, that if there was a possible tell, and maybe I'm coming up with something out of my head here, was when he talked about what team they want to be. And he talked about how they wanted to be an offensive team, they wanted a better power play, they want more high-end offense. Well, that's not John Hines. John Hines is relentless forecheck, play hard every night, and Barry wasn't sitting up here talking about, I want a team that plays hard every night. He wasn't talking about, I want a team that is tough to play against. I want a team that nobody wants to come in this building and face because we are so tough and so physical. And that's what John Hines' kind of calling card has been. That we want to be tough to play against. We want to get back to a style. And he wasn't talking about that. The only other thing that I felt like might be a tell one way or another when it comes to what is Barry Trotz telling us or what is Barry not telling us is if he had already made up his mind that Hines was coming back. And there's only 3 possibilities here, right? He's made up his mind that he's coming back, he's made up his mind that he's not coming back, or he hasn't decided. So it's one of those 3. If he had already made up his mind that Hines was coming back, wouldn't he have said it? Wouldn't he have said, John did a fabulous job this year, and we're proud to go forward with John? And he didn't say that. And what I think they're going to do, I waffle back and forth every day on, do I think they're going to bring Hines back or not? Again, I think they should fire the coach, but I could see, I could argue both sides of this. And I think Barry kind of did in that cut right there when talking about the tale of the 2 seasons. I could argue both sides of this. If it were up to me, I'd move on. And I'd let Barry go pick his guy, who Adam Bingen thinks is Spencer Carberry, the assistant coach in Toronto. But I'd let Barry pick his guy, and I'd go from there. But to me, I thought it was incredibly neutral. I thought it was well said by Barry. I thought it was well spoken. And I don't have an inkling one way or another. Let's get to your phones on this next. 615-737-1025. What do you think of what Barry Trotz said? And do you think Barry is bringing John Hines back? Not, do you want Barry to bring John Hines back, but do you think Barry is bringing John Hines back? We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Speaking of which, Preds fans, be sure to hang out tonight, the last time before the game at Superbook Lounge and Landshark Bar and Grill, Margaritaville on Broadway with 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Place your bets with Superbook and enjoy great food and drink specials. Plus, enter for a chance to win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Robby, Stanley here, and season tickets for the Preds 2023-24 season are on sale now. Preds will be celebrating their 25th anniversary throughout next season. Full half and quarter season plans are available, and you can join the Loyal Legion today and receive the best seat locations at the best pricing and up to 50% off discounts on concessions throughout the season and more, plus priority access to the 2023 NHL Draft and awards, which are hosted right here in Nashville coming up this summer. Check it out at NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
It's time for the NBA playoffs, folks. Get excited and get in on the action right from the first tip with FanDuel Sportsbook. Joe Rexford here to let you know that all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every weekend when you bet the NBA playoffs. That's right. You just place a 3+ leg same-game parlay or same-game parlay plus on any NBA playoff game, and you get bonus bets back if you don't win. One series I'm excited for, Kings-Warriors. And, you know, I like the Warriors, by the way. But the way Klay is shooting right now, Klay Thompson, I think he'd be part of one of my same-game parlays. Get in on this. You get great promotions every day. It's safe and secure. You get paid instantly. It's easy to use. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/Joe102. Get a no-sweat same-game parlay every weekend of the NBA playoffs. That's FanDuel.com/Joe102. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And you must be 21 or older in present Tennessee. Bonus issued is now withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
Baby metal. Death Clock. The Baby Clock Tour 2023. September 5th, Nashville Municipal Auditorium. Baby Metal, Death Clock, one night together live with special guest Jason Richardson. On sale now. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. Being arrested doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. Being served with custody paperwork doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. It may feel that way. But if you have Amanda J. Gentry representing you, you can feel confident that you're going to have the best quality representation in all of Middle Tennessee. Amanda J. Gentry goes wherever justice demands. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Are you a fan of Twin Peaks? Sign up for the Twin Peaks E-Club and stay up to date on all things Twin Peaks. As a friend of the Peaks Club, you'll score free stuff and be updated on upcoming events and promotions. Visit TwinPeaksRestaurant.com and sign up today.
They combine hard-hitting journalism.
Titans have actually made a move, finalizing a one-year deal.
Strong-willed opinions.
No, I disagree. No, I totally disagree with that.
And sometimes, some old man takes...
Don't want those cooked carrots that are 5 days old.
To create the perfect morning show, they are Robby and Rexroad.
The job starts in the morning.
Mornings from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Given back on the right wing side again. Now looking in front, Parsonen. He scores! Parsonen went behind the back and between the legs.
What a play that was. Ryan McDonough made a beautiful play getting it to Parsonen, and then he goes in and makes a finish like that. That kid's got some confidence.
Yes, he does.
There you go. That was last night, and it was a beautiful goal in between the legs, flips it over behind the back, underneath the crossbar. I mean, Juuso Parsonen put it in the back of the net. And let me say this. I was at the game, and I was sitting on the other side of that, so I saw the puck go in, but I didn't see that until afterwards. Again, Barry Trotz on our show yesterday, non-committal on the future of John Hines after tonight's game. What do you think? Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Zara is going to kick us off here on the Barry Trotz decision with John Hines. Go ahead, Zara.
Look, I went to he held a season ticket holder meeting last week, and he mentioned quite a few things about the future of Nashville. The one thing he did mention was John Hines. I think Barry is about 75% decided on what he's going to do. I think he's going to move away from John Hines. I don't think that John Hines is the worst coach in the NHL. He just may not be right for our group of guys, whether that's our veterans or our rookies or whatever. I think he spent a week in Minnesota or Milwaukee with the Admirals. Milwaukee with the Admirals. And I think that he's probably thinking about Carl Taylor. Mm-hmm. I think that he would be remiss not to. But I think that it all comes down to how the guys feel about him. He was a player's coach. He wasn't a front office coach. When he was with the Preds, he was a player's coach. When he was with Washington, he was a player's coach. When he was with the Islanders, he was a player's coach. I think he's going to listen to his players. I think they probably have opinions that we may know or may not know. And I think he's going to make up his mind and do what he thinks is best for his direction and vision of the Nashville Predators. I do think he plans to move on from John Hines. Like I said, never mentioned John Hines when he met with the season ticket holders last week.
Why was I not? Thank you for the call. Zara, great call. Thank you for the call. Why was I not invited to the season ticket holders meeting? Ian?
Well, you must be on the exclusive do not invite list.
Either that or it was one of the many emails that they send that I don't read. But, I mean, I tell you, I would have liked to be at the season ticket holder discussion. I mean, I did have a 30-minute sit-down with him yesterday, so it's not like I'm hurting over here. But do you make anything of that? That he talked about the excitement of the future and did not mention the coach in the season ticket holders secret meeting that we were not invited to or that we either were invited to and didn't see. Do we make anything of that?
I'm trying to figure out if the fact that Hines has like another year on his contract matters in this whole situation.
So when she said like Barry's going to do what he thinks is in the best interest of the Predators, I said, well, no duh. But then at the same time, I thought, well, you know, is this going to be one of those things where it's like, well, we don't want to fire the coach and pay him for another year? And that is sometimes a fine line to walk.
You know, like Trotz, you know, can he really come on here and announce, oh, we're moving forward with John, when it's like, well, he's under contract. So technically you're already moving forward with John unless you decide to change your mind on that.
I mean, the Titans said they were moving forward with Mike Mularkey, and they fired him a week later. So, anything's possible.
That's true, but so I don't know. It'll be interesting. A whole new GM coming in. Is he going to want to hire his own coach?
Here's the one thing I want to say about
that. And just, I don't know if that matters.
Here's what I want to say about that. To everybody out there that said, oh, they need to make Carl Taylor in Milwaukee the coach. I am not here to poo-poo on Carl Taylor. I'm not. But I just want you guys to be open to this. I got a pretty good idea that Barry Trotz probably has an idea of who he thinks is a good coach and who isn't. And that this isn't something that he just determined by coming here and spending a couple of weeks in Milwaukee and saying, all right, let's make him the coach. I mean, I do feel like Barry Trotz has been working with people for 20 years that he's probably thought that guy will be a good coach, that guy will not be a good coach. And so if Barry and Adam brings up Spencer Carberry, he actually texted me last night about this Spencer Carberry, who's an assistant in Toronto.
Can't say I've heard much of him.
So Adam says that he was the AHL coach when Barry was in Washington, and he was the AHL and ECHL coach of the year. And he's like a younger guy. Adam thinks he's in his early 40s, and he's on the bench under Sheldon Keefe in Toronto. And so that Adams texted me yesterday and said that he could envision him as like a Jared Bednar who you put with a young team and who kind of cooks the young team and then is the long-term coach for the young team. That is what Adam Vingan said. Dave texts into the text line and says, if Barry is sitting in on team meetings and trying to keep his mouth shut, you could infer that he's hearing some things he doesn't exactly like. I don't buy that. I can't make that connection. You know, I think when Barry says I'm sitting in there and I'm keeping my mouth shut, that's I'm not going to go in there and tell the coach how to do his job. Even though I was a really good coach for a long time, I'm not going to go in there and tell that coach how to do his job. And I don't want him to feel, whether it's John Hines or Spencer Carberry or Carl Taylor or Jared Stillman, I do not want that guy to feel like I don't trust his opinion by talking in his meetings. To me, that's a sign of respect, that I sit there and I make sure that I stay out of it. That is a sign of respect, and I'm evaluating. I'm not telling him how to do his job. The fact that Barry Trotz, who seems like a very approachable person, the fact that the closest we can read into it is that he, at a season ticket holder meeting, didn't bring up John Hines as part of the future of the club, that he omitted him. It wasn't that he said, and we'll get a new coach, but it's that he omitted him, and we don't even know because we weren't there. It's just what the caller said. That tells you how close to the vest Barry has played this. My gut would tell me that traditionally the Predators would, I don't want to say go out of their way to not fire the coach and let him extend, let him go on his contract and then run through the contract and then move on. But I don't know. I think they probably promised Barry that he wouldn't have to do that and that he could run the organization the way he wants to run it. So it's a long-winded way of saying I sat down with Barry Trotz for 30 minutes, and I told you I was going to ask him about the coach, and I knew that he wasn't going to give me a straight answer, but I figured he'd say something we could read between the lines on, and I don't have it for you. And I wish I did. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, the one that I have a dream for the Tennessee Titans. And the one thing that I hear constantly from people of why they don't want to embrace the dream. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company here on the program. Hey, be sure to join us for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament benefiting Souls for Souls on June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebrities to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf.
Every day we are live and local.
They played tough. They came back and they still lost.
And your source for Nashville sports.
Yes, you want to have a fire sale, but who's going to buy those players?
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Some people don't do well under pressure. At Northern Tool and Equipment, we do it best. Whether you're spraying down the shop or getting the winter grime off your house, a Northern Tool pressure washer says you're serious about spring cleaning. From an all-electric power horse to a Honda-powered North Star, we'll help you build your perfect cold or hot water package with all the chemicals, attachments, and everything you need for the job ahead. Northern Tool and Equipment. We're made for this. Come see us in store or shop online at northerntool.com.
312 Pizza Company is your spot for the best Chicago-style eats right here in Nashville. From thin crust pizza to deep dish pizza to Italian beef sandwiches and Chicago dogs. Doesn't get much better than that. Until now. 312 Pizza Company is now serving up their award-winning pizza by the slice. All day, every day. Don't have time to wait for a full pie? No problem. Get a slice instead. Order a full pie but want a little more? Add another slice. Do it. Honestly, just go get a slice. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria. Go get a slice.
Harmon Energy is your one-stop petroleum solution across all of Tennessee, offering turnkey petroleum solutions for professionals in major industries, serving trucking fleets, construction companies, industrial plants, and more. Whether a large corporation or owner-operator, Harmon Energy has your diesel fuel, lubricant, DEF, and equipment needs. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman. Visit ParmanEnergy.com for more info. Your Tennessee petroleum solution, providing totally outrageous customer service.
Interest rates are up, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Don't sweat it out another summer. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off. Or get 18 months of no payments so your first payment's not due till fall of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Book your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com. And happy spring.
Genesis Diamond's most anticipated event of the year is coming next weekend, April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Huge store-wide savings, plus the unveiling of thousands of new, unique designs from the biggest names in jewelry. All new collections from names like Tacori, Verragio, and more. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, many never seen before, all specially priced. Save up to 35% store-wide and get zero interest financing. Special pricing on natural and lab-grown diamonds, April 21st through the 23rd. Only at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
What if you could do business without busy work? With Ramp, you can. Ramp is the future of finance with smart automation, corporate cards, and spend management. Just imagine, no more expense reports or shuffling wrinkled receipts. No more slogging through invoices or getting surprised by unexpected charges. Just your business's big idea. With smart spend controls, automation that crushes busy work, and real-time insights so you can make it happen. In other words, Ramp completely reimagined finance to make it work for your business. Get set up, issue corporate cards, and start making payments in less than 15 minutes. See how Ramp does finance. Join today and get $250 just for signing up. Just go to ramp.com/offer. That's ramp.com/offer to get $250 for signing up. That's ramp.com/offer.
Now, your Game Center update.
This Game Center update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The Nashville Predators will wrap up their season tonight when they host the Colorado Avalanche. The Preds will miss the postseason for the first time since the 2013-2014 season. Nashville did a good job hanging in the playoff race after the trade deadline and dealing with all the injuries. Incoming GM Barry Trotz joined Stillman and company on Thursday and shared his feelings about how the team played down the stretch.
What I liked, you see that happen to another couple teams in the league, and they basically tumbled, and our guys didn't. We've got 9-10 guys out of our lineup, and we keep finding ways to win. Obviously, having a goaltender that we do in Saros gives us a leg up on other teams, but it's undeniable the effort and the commitment of those young guys. That's a cultural thing, and that's something that I'm really proud of.
Puck drop for Preds versus Avs is set for 7, with pregame at 6 right here on the Preds Radio Network. In some NFL news, former Titans outside linebacker Bud Dupree has signed a 1-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons, and the Nashville Sounds are back in action tonight hosting Norfolk. Coverage begins at 6:20 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robby and Rex Road. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willie, D-Bay.
Stillman Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 1063.
Cranks it, he scores!
On both sides of the ball. One big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Bridgestone Arena, the season finale tonight. The Preds and the Avalanche. And then on they go to the offseason. The draft, which will be right here at Bridgestone Arena. The award show, which will also be right here at Bridgestone Arena. And so on and so forth. The draft for football is in 2 weeks. In fact, less than 2 weeks. We'll be beginning round 2 in 2 weeks' time, which makes me sad, the idea that this draft is almost come and gone. And I am now starting to kind of lay a claim to how I feel. I love Anthony Richardson. I want the Titans to draft Anthony Richardson. I know they'll have to trade up in order to do it. I want them to sit Anthony Richardson on the bench. I want Ryan Tannehill to start next year. I want them to trade all the picks that it'll take to move up there and get him. And I see the talent, and I want to see if they can develop him. And that's just how I feel. Now, the one thing that I hear consistently is the idea that this team has too many needs to be able to make the big trade to jump up to 3 with Arizona and get in front of Indianapolis in order to make the trade. That if you trade this year's first-round pick and next year's first-round pick and this year's second-round pick and next year's third-round pick, that you're going to have a lot of long-term answers or questions, and you may not have the answer to them. And let me just say this. I know this team doesn't have a starting left guard right now, and that I don't really feel like the center is a starter in the NFL, and I am concerned that the right tackle may not be a starter in the NFL either. Not only that, the left tackle and the right guard are both free agents who didn't start on their own teams last year. I know they do not have a starting receiver opposite Treylon Burks, who couldn't stay healthy last year. I know they don't have a backup tight end behind Chigakonkwo. I know that they could always use corner depth, and they need somebody to return punts and kick field goals. So I know that this team has holes. I know that this team is already and still paying the credit card debt for the Julio Jones trade that didn't work out because they don't have a 4th-round pick this year. They got a 1, a 2, a 3, a 5, a 6, a 7. And I know that the idea that the 7th-round pick or the 6th-round pick can automatically come in right away and be counted on to be a difference maker or maybe to ever be a difference maker is a stretch. I also know that by making the deal to move up to 3 to draft Anthony Richardson, you'd be trading away your 1st next year and perhaps your 3rd next year. And that means that when Derrick Henry becomes a free agent, when Danico Autry becomes a free agent, when a lot of guys on your team are starting to move on, Christian Fulton is going to become a free agent, you may not have the picks to necessarily replace those guys. And that is a scary proposition. But ultimately, when it comes to the draft, I believe in prioritizing the long term over this season. Now, if you're a team like Kansas City, if you're a team like Buffalo, I understand the idea of picking with this season in mind. I understand the idea of saying, hey, we need that pass rusher. We need that corner. We need that receiver. I get it. But the Titans aren't one of those teams. That's why the general manager got fired, because the owner thought that they were way too far away. Everybody talks about what it would take to move up to 3 and get the quarterback. And is anybody in Kansas City complaining about the fact that they didn't have a 1st-round pick in 2018? Is anybody in Buffalo complaining about the fact that they didn't have 2nd-round picks because they used those to get Josh Allen? you know the answer to that. If you get the player long term that becomes a superstar, then it doesn't matter. You'll forget about what needs you had at the draft. And this is what I always tell people about the draft. I always say the needs. To me, that's always kind of a foolish talk. And sometimes I get caught into it too. But in 2019, the Titans didn't need a defensive tackle. They were paying Daquan Jones real money, and they were paying Jarrell Casey real money. But they drafted Jeffrey Simmons. In 2016, the Titans didn't need a running back. They had DeMarco Murray, whom they just acquired from Philadelphia. But in the second round, they drafted Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry didn't start as a rookie. And Jeffrey Simmons did not start as a rookie. But that doesn't mean that they're not great players. Sometimes I think we get too caught into this about the idea of, oh, well, right now we need a guard, so let's take a guard. The Titans didn't need a receiver in 19 when they took A.J. Brown. They just went and drafted A.J. Brown. And then all of a sudden, everything else falls into place. So if Anthony Richardson is a transcendent talent, and I think he is, I think he's got the ability to be the kind of player that everybody else in the league looks around and says, we wish we had that kind of quarterback. That doesn't mean that's what he is now, because if he was, he'd go number one. But if you've got that guy, everything else will fall into place. And the other thing is, all the other things that I won't have next year, because I won't have a first-round pick and I won't have a third-round pick, if I trade my first next year and my third next year, I'll buy it. Derrick Henry's a free agent. Ryan Tannehill's a free agent. Danico Autry's a free agent. That right there is about $40 or $50 million worth of players. I'll go buy a receiver. I'll go buy a running back. I'll go buy defensive line help. I'll go buy another corner. That's what free agency's for. That's why the Jacksonville Jaguars, with their quarterback on a rookie contract, who's not making a bunch of money in Trevor Lawrence, that's why they were able to go out and buy Christian Kirk and buy Evan Ingram and re-sign Cam Robinson, the left tackle. So, and they won't be transcendent great players. They won't go to the Hall of Fame. You're not going to sign somebody in free agency who's going to put you over the top. But I will fill the positions that I won't be able to draft. And the fact that I should, and this is why I'm trading up and drafting him at 3, I should have a force multiplier at quarterback will make up for that. But if you get that quarterback, you know this, you've got him for 15 years. How long is Mahomes going to be in Kansas City for? Kansas City gave up a first-round pick, another first-round pick, and a third-round pick, and they stuck Mahomes on the bench, and ever since then, they've been to 5 straight AFC championship games. You know, I pay for YouTube Premium. I know a lot of you probably think that's a gross waste of money, but I watch a lot of YouTube, and I freaking hate the commercials. So I pay for YouTube Premium. And when you're done watching a video, it takes you to another video. And so I get done watching a video one time, and it takes me to a video the day after the 2017 draft. Mahomes, Trubisky, Watson. And the question is, which of those 3 quarterbacks is going to be the best? And the panel, Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp, and Chris Carter, the former wide receiver who's in the Hall of Fame. And Chris Carter said something along the lines of, why is Andy Reid saying that he's going to automatically sit that quarterback? I want the cookies now. If he's so good to trade up, why are you sitting him? And none of those 3 guys said Mahomes. And it was just funny to watch them analyze that after it happened, knowing what we know now. That's how I feel about Anthony Richardson. I think he's got that kind of talent. So the needs, while they exist, wide receiver, left guard, backup tight end, while these things are real, I also know that the draft, I'm thinking about the long-term future of the team and not just this upcoming season. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 737-1025. You all know that I want Anthony Richardson. There's some chatter that perhaps you don't have to go up to 3 to get him. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. You know I love Fireball whiskey. Why? Because Fireball whiskey goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. True story. One time we were out celebrating after the basketball tournament was here at the arena, and I was out, we were all celebrating great friendships with Ice Cold Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey, and I think we got Caroline Fenton in there. So I think she knows what it's like to celebrate with Fireball Whiskey. You know it's my favorite. Fireball Whiskey, she'll tell you, goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. Ignite tonight. Please do it responsibly and be 21 years or older to enjoy. That's Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey.
Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe. Join me and 102.5 The Game out at Nobles in East Nashville for Grind City's official Grizzlies watch party this Sunday.
Oh, what a play by Morant!
You can watch John Morant and the Grizz.
James, a shot in history.
Tip off against LeBron James and the Lakers. And don't forget about AD either. Starting at 2 o'clock, stop by to win Preds and concert tickets as Memphis begins their playoff run. Come out and see us Sunday at 2 at Nobles in East Nashville.
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter, but it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
This week at the Electronic Express Spring Clearance Event, get instant savings of up to 40% off in every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, gaming consoles, speakers, and more. At Electronic Express, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 3 years free financing. Shop the Spring Clearance Event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
This is Jim Mitchell at Mr. Transmission in Madison. Many of you care about a cure for cystic fibrosis. I care a lot and support the Saturday, May 6th golf tournament at Hendersonville's beautiful Country Hill Golf Course. It's the CureForOurFriends.org 9th annual golf tournament for cystic fibrosis. Tee off at 7:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. on May the 6th. Lots of prizes and sports stars, lunch and dinner provided for each tee time. Sign up at CureForOurFriends.org. That's CureForOurFriends.org.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns, and here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Oh, Will Levis. Where do we see Will Levis come off the board?
That'll be interesting.
Here, I'll give you a number. You tell me whether he goes before or after this number, 12.
Dollar bet?
Yeah, what do you want?
I'll take that he goes below 12. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he'll get drafted after the 12th pick.
After the 12th pick. I don't even know if that's a limb.
You're the Steelers. Would you rather have Kenny Pickett going into the 2023 season or Will Levis?
That's a difficult question. I may start leaning towards Kenny Pickett now after watching the Will Levis Pro Day. It's just, can he do off-platform throws? Can he change his arm trajectory? Does it always have to be that compact, tight release? Because you're not going to be able to do that all the time in the NFL. And Levis, as we continue to make excuses for him, didn't have a receiver except a bunch of young kids that maybe eventually be good receivers, but they were growing and learning on the move.
Are you surprised that the Colts could take Will Levis over Anthony Richardson?
I'm not surprised whatever happens in this draft. I wouldn't do it. I'm not personally a big fan of Will Levis, but I've been wrong. Everybody's been wrong. So if they have a conviction, take him. If he, you'll know in 3 years whether he was a bust or he was a great pick.
There you go. That was Rick Spielman on CBS, former NFL general manager. Do you think that it'd be crazy for the Colts to take Will Levis over Anthony Richardson? I wouldn't do it. He hates Will Levis. So yesterday, Matt Miller at ESPN reported that the Indianapolis Colts like Will Levis more than Anthony Richardson, and the Indianapolis Colts are sticking at 4, and they are picking Will Levis. End of story. The end. That, if a Stroud or a Young drops to him, obviously they'd take him over Levis, but they're not trading up to 3 with Arizona. They're sticking at 4, and for everybody out there that is going to say, well, we better move up because we better be worried about Indianapolis, or we better trade to that pick to get Richardson, don't worry about it because we don't want him, because we are taking Will Levis. And let me just tell you, I don't believe it. I think it's total bullcrap. I think Indianapolis is foaming at the mouth over Anthony Richardson. And you know what? Some of you will probably hear that and think to yourself, he's just projecting his own feelings of how much he likes Anthony Richardson onto how Indianapolis feels. But I'm not. Here's why I believe the Indianapolis Colts are going to ultimately want Anthony Richardson. I would not be surprised if Indianapolis wants Anthony Richardson more than either Young or Stroud. My guess is they want Young 1, and then I could see Richardson 2 as ahead of Stroud. He wouldn't be that way for me, but I could see it. Shane Steichen is the head coach in Indianapolis. Who was Shane Steichen's last quarterback? Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. What did they do in Philadelphia? They had a really solid veteran offensive line. They had a running game with Miles Sanders. They had drafted a receiver in Devontae Smith. Then they traded for A.J. Brown. And they had a tight end in Dallas Goedert. The Indianapolis Colts have pieces on the offensive line. They'll need to invest more in veterans, but when you get away from paying quarterbacks, that allows you to pay more on the offensive line. They've got Jonathan Taylor. They've got Michael Pittman. They've already got Gardner Minshew, who is Jalen Hurts' backup quarterback and knows the Jalen Hurts system. They've already got him in tow. So he can play next year, and he can sit Anthony Richardson on the bench. And I think they've got a system in place that they want to put Anthony Richardson into. The same system that when they showed up, Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen, when they showed up in Philadelphia, the same things they did with Jalen Hurts, I think they'll want to do with Anthony Richardson. And so I think they're lying to everybody. I think they want Richardson, and I believe that they're trying to spook people from jumping up to 3, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to jump to 3, trade a second-round pick, and then realize you didn't have to do it. You don't want to jump to 3 and trade all these picks and then realize you never had to do it anyways. That's what you don't want. But I just think they're trying not to have to deal with Arizona. And they're telling everybody we're taking Levis anyway, so don't bother. And then ultimately, I think they'll take Richardson. So I don't buy it. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. Brandy texts in, phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Brandy texts in and says, I think Jared loves Anthony Richardson more than I love AJ from the Backstreet Boys. And that's saying something. You've lasted one segment without saying his name. AJ from
segments.
The Backstreet Boys? Like, he was the weakest Backstreet Boy. Kevin, but if I had to rank the Backstreet Boys, right? Brian first, Nick Carter second, Kevin third, AJ fourth, and Howie fifth. So, okay, he's not the worst Backstreet Boy, but he's up there. AJ from the Backstreet Boys. Texter says, Jared, your argument 100%. If considering Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson is too risky with a team with so many voids. You're not going to be able to get Bryce Young. I don't know why you would do that. I mean, I don't. People are sitting there saying, oh, well, what about the Texans trading too? I don't think the Texans are going to trade too, which we'll get to in a second. Texter into the text line says, I love how there is an opinion on these college quarterbacks when the season ends, and then that drastically changes 2 weeks before the draft. There was no real infatuation with Levis or Richardson when the season ended. Actually, remember hearing a show that said a GM should be fired if they take Levis in the first round. Amazing how the combine and pro days can change the opinions on prospects when it is not an actual game environment. I mean, I don't think anybody ever said Anthony Richardson wasn't going in the first round. Now, I did not like the idea when the college season was over of taking Anthony Richardson. Because I just was like, man, Florida sucked. I mean, what are we're putting Anthony Richardson out there? But when you watch that tape, I want to say it was about a month and a half ago. Sounds about right. I couldn't move my neck. Ian, you remember that. I woke up one night and I could not move my neck. And I was in pain at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I've got this little massage chair thing. And so I went up and I put my neck like in the massage chair thing. And I just put on the TV and I went to YouTube and I was like, all right, let's watch this Anthony Richardson so I can be like, all these draft gurus. And I put on the Florida State game. And I watched Anthony Richardson just throw the ball out of his hand, and it was a missile. And I was like, hold up. I see the talent. Now I see the mistakes. I watched Georgia this morning. He just misses wide receivers, throws it 5 feet over their heads. But then he drops in throws. Ian, that throw that I sent you, that video I sent you of that Georgia throw where
Pretty
he
nice. Dropped it in there.
Just right over Keely Ringo's head. Did you watch the other video I sent you, by the way? Where
yeah, is that where he carried tackle? Bear?
Yeah, a 300-pound man named Bear is just, latched on, like holding on to his back, and he's carrying him. A 300-pound man, again, who has the name Bear, and he's just carrying him. I mean, I love him. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025 here on the program. If you want to get in, let's go to Bradley, who's up next on Anthony Richardson. Thank you for calling. What's up, Bradley?
Hey, man, I just want to agree with you on it, Anthony Richardson. If you actually watch Stroud or Bryce, the ball does not jump off their arm. But when you watch Richardson, that ball flies off his hand. I say the same thing about Levis. It flies off his hand as well. But I think with the right training, Richardson's going to make a bigger difference in the NFL. And I haven't seen someone who has a ball jump off his hand like that. Like, it looks like Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, when he would throw, that ball flew off his hand. And Richardson has that. And I think if he can be trained, yeah, he's going to be a star, man. So I agree with you 100%, man. It's worth taking the risk.
There was a play in the Georgia game I sent to Caroline this morning where as soon as they snapped the ball, Richardson was in the shotgun. As soon as they snapped the ball, a Georgia defensive lineman just has his arms around him. He runs out of the sack, and he runs a little bit and just uncorks a BB 60 yards down the field, and the receiver could have caught the ball. I mean, and we're talking about Georgia. I mean, those Georgia defensive linemen, Kirby has taught those boys how to tackle. I mean, it's unbelievable. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025 here on the program. Coming up next, my no BS mock draft. Now, normally I would only do the top 10 picks. I'm going to do the top 11, Ian. There has been a week, in my opinion, of all kinds of conjecture and lies, and we see right through them next. We'll get to that. Stillman and Company here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Tune in to our draft coverage. That's right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game for the first 3 rounds on Thursday, April 27th and Friday, April 28th. Coverage is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, D&M Development, and Smoky Mountain Tops with Parman Energy and B&B Flooring. Also, be sure to join us on Friday for rounds 2 and 3 of the draft on April 28th, live from Wingstop, where flavor gets its wings, located at 3300 Gallatin Pike in Nashville.
Hi, I'm Jussie Saros. And this is Smashville.
Now here's a try off to the side. What a stop made by Jussie Saros there.
Unreal. You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 102.5, The Game.
It's time for Nashville Sounds Baseball with the Friday Fireworks Show. The Sounds take the field tonight at 6:35 against the Norfolk Tides. Gates open at 5:30, but stick around for the whole game to enjoy a post-game fireworks show. Tickets available now at NashvilleSounds.com.
Genesis Diamond's spectacular spring store-wide sale is coming April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. 3 incredible days of store-wide savings. Up to 35% off engagement rings, earrings, bracelets, wedding bands, plus special financing. Even Genesis GIA-certified diamonds are marked down. Lab-grown diamonds, too. Plus, top jewelry designers are flying in with all new amazing designs. You can't miss this annual event. Save up to $10,000 on some items. It's April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd only. And only at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Hey, it's Jared for Hiller. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks, but there's actually big problems that can come from outdated, old vintage HVAC systems. Older systems require more maintenance and results in higher utility bills. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Everybody wins with a trade-in credit and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacement. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Seems like everything costs more these days. Food, utilities, medical costs, you name it. But as prices go up, our family budget stays the same. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available. Start saving today at FBHP.com or visit your local Farm Bureau office.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Joyland in East Nashville. Joyland is a fun new concept by celebrity chef Sean Brock, inspired by his love for cheeseburgers, shakes, buttermilk biscuits, fries, and fried chicken. Get half off a $30 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals and enjoy the best burger in town. Find some joy today and eat Joyland for half off with Nashville's best deal of the week. That's thegamenashville.com/deals.
The Hoop Collective Podcast.
I'm at our ESPN LA studios. You may remember that Bev did a couple of days of work for ESPN last year.
Oh, I remember. I was on with him.
He left a gorgeous Dolce & Gabbana suit here that is just spectacular.
You should wear it on TV today, Brian.
I do not believe it will fit me, only because the arms are too long. You're across the street. Come over and get it. It's got to be at least a $7,000 suit.
The Hoop Collective Podcast. Listen on the ESPN app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their homestand tonight against the Norfolk Tides.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win.
Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds Baseball, 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I think there's a lot of conflicting signals and information out there about what
Houston is going to do at 2. And I think a lot of people have assumed it's just going to be a quarterback. And in the end, I'm just not convinced just yet that that's going to be the case. Now, I do think that we have Bryce Young slated to be the favorite, number 1, Carolina. Then Houston's on the clock. And what does Houston do? And it becomes interesting if Houston decides to auction off that pick to somebody who wants to come up and trade for a quarterback at number 2, or whether Houston wants to go with a quarterback of its own, or whether Houston wants to go with one of the top defensive players. All I'm saying is I don't think it's a lock that Houston is going quarterback at 2. That's all I'm saying.
All right, that was Adam Schefter earlier this week, putting it out there. I don't think the Texans, who don't have a quarterback, are going to go quarterback when there are 2 top guys at the top of the draft. I don't think they're going to go quarterback at 2. And I heard that and I thought, of course. And then we heard the whole Colts love Will Levis, and we heard Arizona's got 6 teams calling them. And so this is the official Jared Stillman, no BS mock draft 1.0, but we're only doing the first 11 picks because we don't care about any of the picks after that, in my opinion. So we start at the top. Number 1, Carolina's on the clock. Carolina selects Bryce Young. Now, I would select C.J. Stroud if I were them, but I do believe that they're going to take Bryce Young. Everybody is saying Bryce Young, Bryce Young, Bryce Young, and I didn't hear him say it, but I saw somebody write that Adam Schefter said it's a waste of time for Bryce Young to visit the Texans because Bryce Young is going number 1 to Carolina. And when Adam Schefter says something that strongly, like the Texan take was I could see him not doing it, but the Bryce Young Carolina feels more like a called shot. And so I think Bryce Young's going 1 to Carolina. That one I think is pretty simple. With the second pick, the Houston Texans take C.J. Stroud. And I know you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, all anybody's talking about is the fact that they're not going to take C.J. Stroud. And Mike Lombardi said that he's hard to coach. And I know. But it's lying season, and that's what everybody's doing. Everybody's floating things out there right now. You don't know where they're coming from. These guys that report them aren't actually sure what's true or what's not. They're getting lied to left and right. The Houston Texans do not have a quarterback. Now, last year, they picked high in the draft, and they didn't go quarterback with their 2 first-round picks. They took Derek Stingley, and they took Kenyon Green. But the reason that they were able to do that was because there were not a lot of quarterbacks in that class. This year, it's different. They are sitting there at 2. Last year was the Davis Mills was okay in 2021. Let's see how he does in 22. Well, we saw how he did. They don't have a quarterback. They're going to go quarterback. Richardson's not ready to play right now. Levis has holes in his game. Stroud, in my opinion, would go number 1 if I was picking. And so I think that Houston's going to take C.J. Stroud. I think Houston's in the position that whoever they take will take the other guy. I'm not buying the BS that Houston's not interested in these quarterbacks. With the third pick, Indianapolis trades up with Arizona, and they take Anthony Richardson. And I know that the report out there was that Indianapolis is going to stay at 4, that Indianapolis likes Will Levis, and I don't buy it. I think Indianapolis likes Anthony Richardson. I think that Arizona, by putting it out there that 6 teams have called them about the number 3 pick, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to scare the Colts. I think they're trying, all this talk about the Titans. ESPN wrote yesterday that the Titans are not even, the Titans aren't talking about moving up. It's everybody that is talking about them moving up for them. And so I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Arizona is using the Titans as the boogeyman to scare the Colts of you don't want them to get Anthony Richardson. And because they would only move to 4, They would still get the player that they would want to take at 3. They get an extra player or 2 and a third or a second or a player next year. They've got holes all over the place. They have no chance to win this year. Arizona, Indianapolis, swap 3 and 4. Indy takes Anthony Richardson, and my heart breaks inside. Arizona, after making the trade with Indianapolis, runs the card up to the table. They take Will Anderson out of Alabama. Now, I'm not a huge Will Anderson fan because I felt like this past season, Will Anderson did not take over games. And I want pass rushers to take over games. But the only other player in Will Anderson's class is Jalen Carter. And I don't believe that with all of the red flaggery that is surrounding Jalen Carter, if it's Will Anderson or Jalen Carter, I think you take the safer guy. In my opinion, that's Will Anderson. Arizona rushes the card up there, and they draft at number 4 with Indy's pick, Will Anderson Jr. out of Alabama. Seattle at 5 takes Jalen Carter. So I know there's all this talk about how far Jalen Carter might fall, and Drew Rosenhaus says he's not visiting anywhere outside the top 10, and there's character issues, and there's commitment issues, and all kinds of stuff. But Seattle's looking at their team. They're good. They're good defensively. They've got receivers, and instead of Will Levis, they take Jalen Carter because they want a Jeffrey Simmons, a Chris Jones, or an Aaron Donald in the middle of their defensive line. Carter's the second elite defensive player with Will Anderson. Seattle takes him. Now's where it gets interesting. Christian Gonzalez to Detroit. And I'll tell you why Christian Gonzalez to Detroit. They just traded Jeff Okudah, who they took 3rd in 2020. I guess it didn't work out. He was injured. Just didn't work out. And I don't know if they have corner needs or anything else like that, but Gonzalez is big, he's lean, he can run, and I think that's kind of what they need. I will say Detroit takes Christian Gonzalez. Detroit at 7 takes Will Levis. And I know Detroit is telling everybody out there that they are not interested in a quarterback who's not C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. But you can't tell me that Josh McDaniels is going to punt on Derek Carr, sign Jimmy Garoppolo, and not ultimately present an option at quarterback in the long term. And to me, that's Levis. I would prefer Hooker to Levis, but Levis has more talent than Hendon Hooker. I think with the 7th pick, I think he's the quarterback that's there. I think Mike Lombardi, who went out there and said, and we talk about the no BS, that C.J. Stroud is not coachable or struggles with coaching, or I don't know the exact word he used. I think that Lombardi said that because his son is the offensive coordinator of the Raiders, and they're hoping that he'll fall to 3, and then they can do a deal with Arizona. I don't think he will. I think they'll stay at 7, and I think they'll draft Will Levis. Atlanta at 8 drafts Bijan Robinson, the running back out of Texas. And I know you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, hold up. A running back at 8. But you talk to these people that do this for a living, and they say this running back is a freak. I talked to a coach who coached against Bijan Robinson, who's now a Power 5 coordinator. And that coach told me that that guy is everything and more at the running back position. And then I think about Arthur. And I think about how Arthur's entering year 3. They haven't won. They have a young quarterback. They have a receiver. They have a tight end. Most people would look at that and say, well, get more weapons for the quarterback. But I think you get the running back if you're Arthur Smith, and you give the ball to Bijan Robinson like his name is Derrick Henry. And you try to run to 2,000 yards with this guy that everybody says is Barry Sanders-like. So I make the move for Bijan Robinson at 8. Chicago takes Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State with the 9th pick. I think they're going to do that because everybody tells me that Peter Skoronski's a guard. And if I got a pure tackle or a tackle that really is a guard, I think I'll take the tackle. Philadelphia at 10 takes Tyree Wilson. This guy is a freak physically. This guy put up sack number 7.5 at Texas Tech. He is a legit high-end pass rusher. And if you look at the Eagles, they load up on the defensive line. We talk about their receivers. We talk about their offensive line. Talk about their quarterback. But look at their defensive line. Their 2 Super Bowl teams, they have had mean and nasty defensive lines. I think with Tyree Wilson on the board, they can't help but take that pass rusher. They do at 10, which takes us, of course, to 11. I think the Titans stay, and I think they take Broderick Jones, the left tackle out of Georgia. And you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, what? All we've heard about, Peter Skoronski's on the board, all the talk about quarterbacks, and you're taking Broderick Jones? Because we hear Paris Johnson and we hear Peter Skoronski and Broderick Jones. The Titans are bringing Broderick Jones in for a visit. They're not bringing in Paris Johnson. They're not bringing in Peter Skoronski. They're bringing in Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones, when I watch the tape, he reminds me of Taylor Lewan. Now, I think Taylor is nastier than Broderick Jones, and I think he's more refined than Broderick Jones. But I see a lot of Taylor in him, and I wonder, because Andre Dillard is good in pass protection, but he's not a mauler in the run game. I wonder if the Titans move Dillard inside to guard and say, hey, you just keep the pocket in front of Tannehill from collapsing, and that they try to run outside with Broderick Jones and say, we want you to go out there and knock people off for Derrick Henry. So I think Broderick Jones, and he's visiting the team out of Georgia, is the pick at 11. 615-737-1025. That's the no BS. That's the looking through the rumors. 615-737-1025. Charles Davis has a mock draft. Now, I like Charles a lot. And Charles does do a lot of this stuff for NFL Network. He's got a mock draft that's out that I just do not believe. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Want to jump into the mind of a 15-year NFL vet? Well, here's your chance. It's Ask D-Mace.
Come on, bring them on.
Ask questions on football and life to Derek Mason every Friday at 12:30 on Ask D-Mace.
Don't mess with her. The skilled guy. Money reigns supreme.
On Caroline, Willie, and on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's time for another Kubota field event at Coleman Tractor of White House. Their biggest sale event of the year will take place in White House on Saturday, April 22nd. Don't miss this perfect opportunity to demo Kubota tractors, zero-turn mowers, and more. Take advantage of Kubota's competitive financing offers. Receive a coupon for up to $250 off select purchases. Plus, enter to win prizes and free barbecue lunch from 11 to 1. Try it and buy it during the Kubota field event Saturday, April 22nd from 9 to 2 p.m. at Coleman Tractor of White House at 3613 Highway 31 West.
Hey, what's up? Teron Davenport here for Superbook Sports. Baseball season is back, and the push for the postseason is on for hockey and hoops. Make it all count this spring with Superbook Sports. Superbook is the best sports wagering app around, with a direct line to experienced bookmakers behind the counter in Las Vegas. Plus, check this. Get a $250 bonus when you sign up, deposit, and wager in the same day. Don't let spring pass you by without winning money with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
What if you could do business without busy work? With Ramp, you can. Ramp is the future of finance with smart automation, corporate cards, and spend management. Just imagine, no more expense reports or shuffling wrinkled receipts. No more slogging through invoices or getting surprised by unexpected charges. Just your business's big idea with smart spend controls, automation that crushes busy work, and real-time insights so you can make it happen. In other words, Ramp completely reimagined finance to make it work for your business. Get set up, issue corporate cards, and start making payments in less than 15 minutes. See how Ramp does finance. Join today and get $250 just for signing up. Just go to ramp.com/offer. That's ramp.com/offer to get $250 for signing up. That's ramp.com/offer.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient
of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
At Lowe's, we're always bringing pros more ways to save on the brands you trust. Right now, buy a DeWalt 20-volt Power Stack Max 2-pack battery for $199. Get a select DeWalt Bear tool free with savings starting at $139. Plus, you'll always save big on job lot quantities when buying select building supplies in bulk. Because Lowe's knows savings, Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location while supplies last. Lowe's reserves the right to limit quantities. Discount taken at time of purchase. Battery and charger not included with free items. Valid 5-3.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, it's Chef Phillip at Bar Lines at the Omni Hotel. Come try our new Nashville hot fish and chips. Beer battered black cod served over crispy fries or tots with Omni's own Nashville hot season blend. Served with chipotle slaw and malt vinegar tartar sauce.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
They talk sports.
The Predators get the 2 points, which is obviously what they needed.
They're not making big moves that are jaw-dropping signings in free agency.
They talk life.
Well, I almost just fell down the stairs, so there's that.
My backpack was so heavy, the seatbelt alarm was going off the entire trip.
But most of all, they have a good time.
Here or there.
Yeah.
Chase and Michelle, weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Anthony Richardson. He's from the University of Florida. He's 6'0", 244 pounds, 4.4 40-yard dash, an amazing 40.5 vertical jump, 54.7 completion percentage at the collegiate level, which is below average. In fact, alarmingly below average. 7.9 yards per attempt, which is almost on the number. That's good. 24 TDs, 15 interceptions. That is not good. He has ideal and rare size, speed, athletic ability, arm strength, speed of release, extension, and running ability. It's excellent and it's rare. He's reminiscent of Cam Newton with two exceptions. He doesn't quite have the shake and bake that Cam had to make people miss down the field, but he's actually faster. And at a similar stage of his career, he has better touch than Cam did coming in. His passing ability is rare. He can make any throw from any platform at any distance and any velocity with minimal effort. Everything he does is easy.
I will tell you, I love Anthony Richardson. And when I hear Bill Polian say that, it just says rare throwing ability, size, and speed. I've got a buddy I went to high school with right now. It's blowing my phone up about Anthony Richardson sucks. He's going to be horrible. This is so stupid. I'm like, dude, can't coach the way this guy plays. The one thing that absolutely positively is not going to happen is what Charles Davis has in his latest mock draft. I like Charles. NFL Network. Charles does the Titans preseason games. Charles is a great guy. I like Charles. I listen to Charles. I trust Charles. Calls good games on CBS. But Charles has a mock draft out at NFL.com, and he's got the Titans staying at number 11. And he's got the Titans taking with the 11th pick Anthony Richardson out of Florida. Now, let me say this. I am almost offended by Charles Davis's mock draft because Anthony Richardson is not lasting until the 11th pick. There is no way that guy, that just raw piece of talent, is going to be available with the 11th overall pick. Now, look. Adam Schefter said earlier this week that in 2021, when San Francisco moved up from 12 to 3, they did it to take Mac Jones. They traded 3 first-round picks to move up and take Mac Jones. then they fell in love with Trey Lance. They could have stayed at 12 and taken Mac Jones because he went with 15. And we talk about trading with Arizona to move up and take Anthony Richardson. And I say, deal a 1 and deal next year's 1 and deal your 2 and deal next year's 3. And that's a lot to give up. I don't want there to be any false hope, Charles, that the Titans can sit there at 11 and take Anthony Richardson. Because, as I said earlier today, I think there's a better chance Anthony Richardson goes off the board with the number 1 pick than there is that he goes at 11. He is that talented. And what he's capable of doing, you can't coach. And the only knocks against him are his accuracy and footwork, which were the same knocks against Josh Allen and the same knocks against Patrick Mahomes. We read the Mel Kiper Jr. breakdown after Kansas City traded up to take Mahomes in 17, and how he said they're going to have to rebuild him from the ground up. And they did. But that raw talent with Patrick Mahomes, you cannot coach that raw talent. You cannot coach that. That is raw talent that you may not get another shot at. Now, I love Charles. He's a good man. But Anthony Richardson will not be there at 11. Levis, maybe. Hooker, most likely. Richardson will not be there with the 3rd pick. And it's funny because I keep pumping Anthony Richardson. I would not let him touch the football field. Like, he would not be anywhere near the football field if I was in charge. Tannehill would be the quarterback. If I was running the Titans, they'd trade up to 3. And after they trade up to 3, they draft Anthony Richardson, and Mike Vrabel would go right to the press conference and would say, Ryan Tannehill is the starting quarterback. Is Anthony Richardson the backup? As of right now, no, he's not. And then I'd bring in some, Scarbini backup like Logan Woodside, and I'd have that guy and Malik and Anthony all in camp. And if Anthony shows me that he's ready to be the backup quarterback, then I'll cut the other guys, and it'll be Tannehill and Anthony. And I may go with the 3rd quarterback just because what we saw in the NFC Championship game, you're probably better off. If Anthony shows me that he's not ready in training camp, like Malik showed me that he wasn't ready in training camp this year, then we'll have Logan Woodside or Nick Mullins or Nate Sudfeld or whomever, Steve DeBerg or Scott Mitchell or I don't know, that guy will back up Tannehill, and Anthony will be in street clothes the whole season, and I'll be fine with it. Because we're going to get that talent right. We're going to get those mechanics right. We're going to get the understanding for a 20-year-old of what the league is like. We're going to get that right. But that's not going to be available at 11. And there are no guarantees. I am not making any guarantee that Anthony Richardson is going to be a special player because there are so many other factors about who coaches him, what team he's on. Do they try to rush him too fast? Things like that. Because I think a team might screw him up. But he's not going to be there at 11. Taylor says, didn't they say the same things about Malik Willis? No. Rick Spielman last year was not saying Malik Willis is for sure a top 5 pick. A 10-year general manager in the NFL. Bill Polian, who has a gold jacket, was saying Malik Willis belonged in the 3rd round last year. You just heard the cut. He was not saying about Malik Willis that his size and ability and speed and throwing ability was rare. And that's what he's saying about Anthony Richardson. He said he is a 1st-round pick. There's no two ways about it because he's a top 10 pick. And I think he'll be a top 5 pick. 615-737-1025. The Washington Capitals have announced that Peter Laviolette and the Capitals have mutually agreed to part ways. Tough run for Laviolette there in Washington. Came in probably a little too late on the Ovechkin scale. I wish Laviolette the best. I consider Laviolette a friend. I think he's a tremendous coach. I miss him coaching this team, even though he could be kind of a grump sometimes. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great coach. And I don't know if Laviolette hangs it up or not, but he's been pretty darn good and pretty successful. Chad Withrow, Outkick 360, joins us next on the program. Plus, we'll give away some Dave Matthews Band tickets later this hour. That's right, be listening for that. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106 through the game.
Stuck at work without a radio?
Wait a minute. Disastrous.
I hate that.
It's got to be there.
That's okay. Download the Game Nashville app or go to thegamenashville.com and listen live. We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3. The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time for the Preds Report.
Presented by Newton Nissan.
The Nashville Predators and the Minnesota Wild battled back and forth last night in the next-to-last regular season game at Bridgestone Arena. They were tied at 1, tied at 2, and tied at 3 in the third period. And then in overtime, our Bridgestone performance moment of the game. Now looking in front, Parsonen. He scores! So Parsonen went behind the back and between the legs. What a play that was. Juuso Parsonen with his 10th of the year. It couldn't have gotten any more dramatic than that. From McDonough and Glasses, the Predators won it in overtime, 2:44 in. Up next, Predators and the Cup champion Avalanche tonight. Pre-game at 6, game at 7.
All the best car deals in Smashville start at Newton Nissan. Visit them at Newton Nissan of Gallatin or Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
The NBA playoffs are here, folks, and you can turn crossovers into cash with FanDuel Sportsbook. Joe Ricks here to let you know. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/Joe102. Right now, place $5 bet. You get an instant $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. A lot going on with the playoffs. Of course, it's going to be an exciting playoffs. Again, I'm big on the Dubs. I think Andrew Wiggins coming back. It's going to be really interesting for the Golden State Warriors. But so many different ways you can go. Just do it on FanDuel. Safe and secure. You get paid instantly. You got a spot for the bets you like and great promotions every day. Easy to use. Big thing with me. No better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Go to FanDuel.com/Joe102. Sign up to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet your first $5. FanDuel's an official sports betting partner of the NBA, and you must be 21 or older and present. Tennessee. Bonus issued is no withdrawable bonus set, so it expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy classic wings, sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
Men, this is Evan Bass with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and I've been helping men with sexual health issues for many years. I've seen the pain and anxiety that men walk into the clinic with when erectile dysfunction is affecting them. And I also know the heartache and difficulty it can bring to their partner. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've been successfully treating men for ED for many years now. We've seen the amazing impacts that those treatments have on a man's confidence and positivity. And we've seen the wonderful things those treatments also do for a man's relationship. That's why I'm pleased to announce that we are now offering the same great services we offer at our Nashville clinic at our new location in Franklin, which will make it much more convenient for those men living south of Nashville to get treated. So call us today and book your appointment at our Midtown location or at our new clinic in Cool Springs. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatment, sex, start, results vary.
Now, your Game Center update.
The Nashville Predators will wrap up their season tonight when they host the Colorado Avalanche. The Preds will miss the postseason for the first time since the 2013-2014 season. Nashville did a good job hanging in the playoff race after the trade deadline and dealing with all the injuries. Incoming GM Barry Trotz joined Stillman and company on Thursday and shared his feelings about how the team played down the stretch.
What I liked, you see that happen to another couple teams in the league, and they basically tumbled, and our guys didn't. We've got 9-10 guys out of our lineup, and we keep finding ways to win. Obviously, having a goaltender that we do, and Saros gives us a leg up on other teams, but it's undeniable the effort and the commitment of those young guys. That's a cultural thing, and that's something that I'm really proud of.
Puck drop for Preds versus Avs is set for 7, with pregame at 6 right here on the Preds Radio Network. In some NFL news, former Titans outside linebacker Bud Dupree has signed a one-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons, and the Nashville Sounds are back in action tonight hosting Norfolk. Coverage begins at 6:20 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live, thanks to Superbook Sports. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Bridgestone Arena, the finale. Preds and Avalanche tonight, right here at Bridgestone Arena. They just showed Peter Laviolette and the Capitals, quote-unquote, mutually agreeing to part ways. They just showed that on the screen, and the picture they had on NHL Network was Peter looking up. Like, he's clearly looking at the scoreboard, but it's almost like he's looking up to God, like, God, what do I do now? And I can't stop laughing about it. Anywho, I'm obsessed with Anthony Richardson. I actually was thinking during the break about how this all started. And I think, Ian, it started with Bill Polian last week saying that, he's a first-round pick, no doubt about it. He's rare. He throws the ball better than Cam Newton. He's faster than Cam Newton. The size, the speed, everything else. Then Mel Kiper's mock draft. Then all the other talk about it. A caller yesterday called in and said that, he was terrible in the Georgia game. I watched the Georgia game this morning. I walked away more impressed with him. I want to trade up. I want to draft Anthony Richardson if I'm the Titans. Chad Withrow, Outkick, joins us. Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow joins us now on the program. Chad, I want Anthony Richardson to the Titans. Your thoughts?
Did you read the piece he wrote for the Players Tribune?
I actually did not.
Yeah, so he wrote a big piece about why teams should draft him, and I thought it was really well done. I really liked it because I could tell right away that he actually wrote it. It wasn't some agent statement, and he went through his history and how he grew up and everything else, and it was really well done. It did make me like Anthony Richardson a lot more. I had a couple of big takeaways. One, he quotes one coach in this piece that he wrote. And the coach that he quotes is Dan Mullen and not Billy Napier. Dan Mullen is the guy who brought him to Florida, but Dan Mullen's also the guy who did not start him, right? He started Emory Jones over Anthony Richardson. But yet that's who he quoted about, learning the position most from Dan Mullen and him being a quarterback guru. He did a good job of explaining that he had different quarterback coaches, and his last year he had a different offense under Billy Napier, and that could be a part of it. He also laid out the fact that the way he grew up, being raised by a single mom and how much his mom was working, he didn't have a lot of money, they were bouncing from apartment to apartment, that he didn't have a chance to go to a lot of football camps like a lot of top prospects. And so that was a different, thing about his development as a quarterback, alluding to the fact that maybe he's a bit of a late bloomer because he didn't go to all the elite camps that a lot of other quarterback prospects were able to go to. So I liked what he had to say. I found those things interesting, but it's hard to account for the inconsistency with Anthony Richardson. I think that he has an enormously high ceiling, but I am just uncertain with him. I'm not in love with him like you are, Jared, because I saw some of those games where at times he couldn't complete short passes, or it looks like he couldn't control his velocity on passes. Now, on the flip side, I saw him against Tennessee. He single-handedly kept them in a game against a top 5, top 10 Tennessee team. Tennessee was better than Florida a year ago, and it was all Anthony Richardson that kept them alive in that game and gave them a chance, and he was great in that game. So I see the good and bad. I think he's got a high ceiling, but I'd be really concerned about that inconsistency if I'm the Titans or any team that drafts him. Now, I will say this on your point about Richardson or any quarterback. If the Titans are done with Tannehill, and I think that they are for the most part, they know they have to move forward with someone else, and you like one of those quarterbacks, do what you can to trade up with Arizona and jump Indianapolis and get your quarterback. Whether that's Richardson or someone else, do it. Make that trade, get ahead of the Colts, get ahead of a team in your division, and pick the quarterback that you want.
I think that's well said. Chad Withrow's with us. My thing about Richardson is that all I ever hear is Titan fans complain about how, well, what's the point with Tannehill in the AFC when you've got Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow? Well, Joe Burrow's number 1 overall, and it's the right year that you have to stink. And, the Joe Burrows are few and far between. Mahomes and Allen were spotted by their teams. Their teams traded up, developed them, and they became stars. And I just think sometimes people don't want to put in the hard work or do what those teams were willing to do in order to have the quarterbacks they have. I don't think there's a lot of people that have the kind of talent to become a Patrick Mahomes. I think Anthony Richardson does. And that's the one reason. I'm not sure the Titans have the staff capable of developing it. They certainly don't have Andy Reid, but he's got that level of talent, and I don't foresee the Titans being able to get that level of talent anywhere else.
Yeah, you make a compelling argument, and everyone knows what Tannehill is, and he's not bad. This isn't a knock on Tannehill. He's just a pretty good quarterback. He's sort of middle of the road NFL quarterback, certainly a much better situation than some teams in the NFL with their quarterback spot. But you know about what Tannehill is going to get you, and it is all about now about what's next for the Titans at that position. There's really 2 routes to go. One is do what you're saying, trade up, get Anthony Richardson, and now you've got your future at quarterback, and you make a good argument for that. The other one would have been trading for Lamar Jackson, which I think is highly unlikely now. Odell Beckham Jr. going to Baltimore. Feels like he's going to stay in Baltimore. They'll amend their relationship there, and everything's going to be just fine. But if you really wanted to improve with the position and give yourself a chance, it would have been Lamar Jackson that does that immediately. I also will say this about Richardson. There's a lot of talk that, well, he's a project and he's a developmental player and he's going to have to sit a year or maybe 2. And I'm thinking, if you draft a quarterback at 3, let's say you're the Titans and you trade up and do that, and draft him at 3, maybe you start Tannehill in the beginning of the season, but I'm not waiting around a year to get Richardson some reps and get him in there. Even if I feel like he could be a learn-on-the-job type of guy, I'm wanting to start him earlier than that. Number 3 overall pick, and trading up and doing what you're going to have to and giving up what you're going to have to trade up to number 3 to get him, I want him starting at some point in his rookie year.
I don't. I want them to take him, and I want Vrabel to sit down that day and say, Ryan Tannehill's the quarterback, and I don't even want him to be the backup, Chad. I want him as far away from the field that first season. Now, I want him to play in the preseason and training camp and things like that, but they have got to teach him the fundamentals, and I don't want him learning bad habits, and I don't want him starting to see ghosts, and I don't want to ruin him. And I think if a team puts him out there before he's ready, I think they could ruin him.
Well, and I know you're probably going to hate this, but here's a flip side argument to all of this. You're going to have to give up a lot to move up, to number 3 to get Richardson, which I'm not totally against at all. But what if you stayed at 11 and drafted Hendon Hooker and gave yourself that first round option, a 5th-year option with him, knowing that because of his knee, if you're okay sitting a quarterback for a year, knowing that because of his rehab, you're probably going to have to sit for a year before he's a starter. I don't think the ceiling is as high with Hendon Hooker. I think the floor is higher right now.
Absolutely.
With him.
How high? I mean, what do you think the true ceiling for Hendon Hooker is? Right? Like, do you think it's a Pro Bowler 2? Do you think it's a perennial Pro Bowler? Do you think, what do you really think it is? Because I have a lot of respect for Hooker, and I think he's going to be good, but I don't think he has Mahomes level talent, which is what I do think Richardson has.
Yeah, it's. I think in the right system, he could be a Jalen Hurts. He could be really good Carson Wentz earlier in his career. We had Cynthia Freeland on the show yesterday from NFL Network, and she has all these algorithms and different things she puts in. And she was going through her comps for all these quarterbacks. Her comp for Hendon Hooker was Daniel Jones, which was interesting. I'm thinking, well, Daniel Jones this past year is pretty good. So I'd be okay with that for the Titans. Maybe not the rest of his career, but he's starting to come into his own. And I can kind of see that comparison as well. I think Hendon Hooker, he is a guy that he's not someone who's going to totally elevate, to the level of Mahomes or Burrow. But I do think he's someone who could win an MVP in the NFL if he's got the right supporting cast around him and he's in the right offense, the right system. And I just think he's going to be pretty good to start. Right? I think that's the difference between him and Richardson. I think whenever he's healthy, and he would be able to play at some point this season with the recovery if needed. I think he's going to be pretty good when he starts. And I do think someone's going to draft him in the first round to get that option because you know he's going to have to recover, and it gives you another option with a first-round pick at quarterback of that fifth year. But maybe it's the Titans. Probably going to be someone later in the first round, maybe even someone who trades up into the first round from the second to get him. But I do think he's going to go on the first night.
Well, I think he's definitely going in the first round because there's nobody else after him. And I think there are going to be teams like a Minnesota or like a Seattle or like a whomever that are like, we got Geno Smith, but, we don't have a long-term option. And the next quarterback after Hendon Hooker is Jake Haener at Fresno State. And
hey, by the way, Minnesota, great spot for Hendon Hooker.
For Hooker? Because of Kevin O'Connell?
I think two spots, there or the Rams. I've seen some things about both of those teams. And if I'm just looking out for Hendon Hooker about where he could be really successful, I think either one of those would be great. Kevin O'Connell and then Sean McVay. But, you've got Matthew Stafford with the injury concerns now. I think that would be terrific for his development if he got in either one of those systems.
Chad Withrow's with us, Outkick 360. We'll get more draft thoughts, some of the guys the Titans have brought in, some of the non-quarterback stuff. We'll get into that coming up here on the program. TriStar Moving, my official movers. I love TriStar Moving. That's right. I moved a couple years ago with TriStar, and it was super easy. It was one house to the next. Those guys were there. They made the day fly by, and they took care of everything in a professional manner. There were no issues whatsoever. I always tell people, if you're looking to move, get a bid from TriStar because moving's expensive. So you'll compare them to the other companies, and I think you'll love what you get with TriStar. The whole shebang. That's TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nashvillemoving.org/radio. Tell them I sent you, and you'll get 10% off your entire move, which is a lot of money because moving's expensive. That's nashvillemoving.org/radio, 615-640-1219, TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robby and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The choice is yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Family Leisure invites you to vacation at home with your family with a new spa, pool, patio furniture, or wood play gym this summer.
I really want a spa.
Family Leisure has 40 spas on display from 3 of the biggest brand names: Artesian, Best Spas, and American Select. Prices starting as low as $29.99.
What about above ground pools?
Family Leisure has hundreds of pools in stock and on sale. Guaranteed installation before Memorial Day, starting as low as $29.99. Installed.
Wow, that's great.
If you're looking at a spa, I want some new patio furniture. Family Leisure has patio furniture from all the big brand names like Hanneman, Woodard, Jensen, and Apricity. There's more than 100 sets on display to choose from with free delivery.
That sounds good to me too. And maybe a new Sabre infrared grill to go with it.
We really should look at the wood play gym for the kids. Family Leisure has the Diamond Point swing set on sale at only $24.99 installed. It's Family Leisure's Vacation at Home sale going on now at both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
Family and fun come together.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, Willie Donick here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? How does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. That's 100%. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loan. Consolidate all your payments into one check per month and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. And Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now. See what your options are. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, we're live at Bridgestone Arena. Let's go ahead and give something away because I said that we were going to do it. I'm in a good mood, and you guys have been great listeners. Be caller 5 right now at 615-737-1025, and you'll go see Dave Matthews Band DMB right here at Bridgestone Arena on May 26th. That's caller 5. Good luck to you. Fireball Hot Take Friday. Chad Withrow from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow joins us now on the program. Of course, you can hear that on 94.9 The Fan. Chad, what do you think? Mel Kiper's latest mock draft came out. 4 quarterbacks go with the first 4 picks. Do you think that's realistic, or do you think one of these guys is going to slide?
Oh, I think if Arizona's trading that pick, then that's what's going to happen. So I think it's all about whether or not Arizona trades. If Arizona doesn't trade, they're going to draft their top defensive player. But if that trade goes down, which I think it will, I think it's going to be quarterback 1, 2, and 3, 4. So I agree with Mel Kiper. I think someone's going to trade up to 3 to get their quarterback, and it's going to be quarterback's gone with those first 4 picks.
Do you buy at all that the Texans will not go quarterback with the 2nd overall pick?
I don't buy it. And, we have John McClain on every week, and he is adamant. It is going to be Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. And now all the betting markets show probably going to be Bryce Young to Carolina at 1. So they're going to draft C.J. Stroud. I refuse to believe, Jared, that because they have a problem with Mughalata, however you pronounce it, the agent that was Deshaun Watson's agent, that would prevent any NFL team from not drafting the franchise quarterback they want to draft when they have a draft pick. He's got a lot of high-profile clients. I think they can smooth things over. I'm sure the Texans have hurt feelings over the whole Deshaun Watson situation with that agent, but that's not going to prevent them from drafting C.J. Stroud if that's the guy they want. So I just refuse to buy that rumor that's out there. I think Texans will go C.J. Stroud at number 2.
Do you think, Chad Withrow with us, Outkick 360, do you buy that Arizona has 6 teams calling on them for the 3rd pick like Adam Schefter says?
Yes, totally buy it.
Do you think the Titans are one of those 6?
Yes, absolutely the Titans are one of them. I firmly believe that. And they would be foolish if they weren't. Look, they need a quarterback for the future. So you got to be looking at every possible option, whether that's trading for Lamar Jackson or trading up to 3 if you really like Anthony Richardson as an example, or any one of these quarterbacks. Could be Will Levis, could be Hendon Hooker, whoever it is. Then you trade up and get your quarterback if you can do so and the price isn't too steep. So I think the Titans are one of them. And, we could go through the usual suspects of teams we know that are in need of quarterback that are drafting behind Indianapolis that might want to move up ahead of them and draft QB. So, no, I definitely buy that report. What kills me about Schefter was yesterday when the Commanders said that Schefter comes back and says, hey, the preliminary sale is going through, but it's not signed yet, and there's still the Canadian billionaire. And I'm thinking, the way this is worded, there's no way he can be wrong when the team is eventually sold. And this is just an NFL newsmaker having to put some news out on his own that really is not even news. The team was being sold before that. He couldn't just let the report that wasn't him, that the team being sold to Josh Harris, he could not let that just slide and had to put something else out there. Those things kill me. But when Adam Schefter is saying 6 teams are calling, he's getting that from a reliable source. I'm buying that one.
You don't think Arizona would lie to him?
I don't. Let me put it this way. I think with who Adam Schefter's talking to in every organization, he's done this long enough and he's broken so much news that he knows to talk to the person that's not going to lie to him, right? There's plenty of people that would lie to try to drive up interest. If you're Arizona and you're wanting to get it out there that, hey, it's going to take a lot for this pick, which would make a lot of sense for the position they're in, they could do that. But I think Adam Schefter has done it long enough where his sources with each team, and I'm sure he probably has one solid source with every team, he knows that person is not going to lie to him about anything.
Mm-hmm. Chad Withrow's with us. Do you believe what's come out? It was Matt Miller, ESPN, yesterday, that Indianapolis has Levis ahead of Richardson, and they are sticking at 4, and if Levis is there, they're taking him. Do you buy that?
Probably, because I think that's bad. First off, I would put Richardson ahead of Levis, but no.
Everybody puts Richardson ahead of Levis.
Yeah, there's just a lot of red flags about Will Levis. We had Danny Cannell on our show today, and he was talking about him being all rocked up in the bathroom selfie, how big he is muscle wise, and he said he brought up a point I never really thought about, but he said if you watch him, he said Anthony Richardson's huge too, but he's just more natural. It's more with his build. He's a big guy and he's muscular and all that. But when you watch Levis throw, he throws it hard, he throws it well. He looks like he's muscling the ball. And when you see that picture, it makes more sense. He looks like a linebacker playing the position. He's not a natural thrower. With certain guys, it's just a natural, fluid motion where they can just let it rip and let it go. It does look like with Levis, it's more because he lifts a lot of weights. He's throwing the ball hard and throwing it far. And I never really looked at it that way, but that is one red flag. Is Indy, is that an offense now with their new coach that Will Levis fits better? I don't think so. But, if they start throwing out there, they're getting it from someone.
So this is my gut. I think that there's a cold war between Arizona and Indy. I think Arizona wants to move to 4 because they want to take Will Anderson or whomever, the defensive player they want. They want the best defensive player, and they want a couple of extra picks. I think Indy doesn't think that they're going to get jumped by Arizona because they, to trade with the Titans, for instance, for 11, you're not going to get Will Anderson. You're not going to get Tyree Wilson. You're not going to get one of those guys if you move to 11. So they know, okay, fine. We'll call your bluff. You trade that 3rd pick. Ultimately, I think Indianapolis will pucker up. I think they'll move up to 3, and I think they'll take Richardson. I think it's a lie. I think they like Richardson more than Levis. I think they want to put in the Jalen Hurts offense with Shane Steichen for Anthony Richardson. I think they'll start Gardner Minshew next year. And I just think it's all a bunch of lies. Am I a conspiracy theorist?
No, I could totally buy. It tracks, what you're saying. It's a believable. If you're going to go the route of conspiracy theory, it's certainly a believable conspiracy that's going on, and that they actually do want Anthony Richardson. And when all's said and done, they will trade up the one spot to get him. No, I think I could buy that. With Monty Ossenfort now with the Cardinals, it's kind of like Rand Carthon with the Titans. We just really don't know, how they're going to operate and if they're going to be good at things like this, because this is kind of a long con, right? This is next level espionage with Arizona. Is Ossenfort capable of that? And maybe it'll turn out true, and we'll find out that he is capable of it. But we need to see it happen first. But I think what you're saying, yeah. Is it the most likely scenario? No. Is it possible? And could I see that being the case? Absolutely.
Last one for you. The draft is 2 weeks from yesterday, although day 2 with drafts with rounds 2 and 3 will be 2 weeks from today. Do you think the Tennessee Titans will stick at 11, and do you think they will pick a non-quarterback?
So this, honestly, right now, Jared, is probably 55-45. I'm going on this answer. I will guess right now that they stick at 11 and they draft non-quarterback. But 45% of me thinks they're going to trade up to 3 and draft someone. I don't know if it's going to be Richardson. Probably Richardson if that's the case. But I'm 45% right now that they're going to trade up and get their quarterback. I think if they were to trade back, that suddenly brings in the likelihood that it's Hendon Hooker that they're going to draft at quarterback later in the draft. But, I'm kind of going with the Titans of old that are a little bit more predictable. When I say that, 55% of me says they stick at 11 and they draft Peter Skoronski, or someone that's not a quarterback.
Chad Withrow, Outkick 360. If the Titans, I actually was telling Ian earlier today, if the Titans trade up to 3 and draft Will Levis over Anthony Richardson, I might cry on the air. Like I might be. It might be me, Chris Sanders, Derek Mason, and honestly, they may have to console me on the radio if the Titans trade up to 3 and draft Will Levis over Anthony Richardson.
Wherever you're doing that broadcast on 102.5 The Game, I will show up and possibly just watch the pick just to see you cry.
Oh,
if that's the case. So let me know where it is and where you are, and I'll show up right before the pick is made just to see if there's actual tears.
Twin Peaks out in Cool Springs, and I will just say this. There will be nothing at Twin Peaks that will cheer me up after the Titans. And I'm talking about everything. Nothing that will cheer me up at Twin Peaks, and I love Twin Peaks, and everybody should, that will cheer me up if the Titans do that. Chad Withrow joining us as always. Chad, great stuff. We'll talk soon.
All right, always fun joining you guys. Thanks.
Yep, Chad Withrow on the program. One last time. One last game tonight for the Predators. One last Hal Gill sit down, and we'll do that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
When it comes to NFL draft prep, there's no one better than TD. ESPN's Teron Davenport talks to the prospects.
There's 3 deals going at once, and whichever deal goes first sets the floor for the next one.
And brings you the best info on the Titans draft.
If Paris Johnson is the top player there, I think they would take him.
Teron Davenport, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8. TD on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hal Gill here from my friends at Dunkin'. Warm up and feel the love with Dunkin'. Treat yourself and a loved one to a brown butter toffee hot or iced latte, which is superb paired with the bacon avocado tomato sandwich. Be sure to try the all-new stuffed biscuit bites. It's a warm biscuit dough wrapped around a mixture of bacon, scrambled egg, and cheddar cheese. Visit us at our newly remodeled Dunkin' on Briley Parkway in Nashville or the new Dunkin' in Mount Juliet and our other locations throughout Middle Tennessee. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
Avenged Sevenfold in concert. The wait is finally over. A7X. Friday, September 22nd, Bridgestone Arena. Special guest, Falling in Reverse. Tickets are on sale now at livenation.com. Avenged Sevenfold. New album out June 2nd. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
This week at the Electronic Express Spring Clearance Event, get instant savings of up to 40% off in every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, gaming consoles, speakers, and more. At Electronic Express, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 3 years free financing. Shop the Spring Clearance Event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Pennzoil Platinum can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life oil filter for only $37.99. Get started on your next job today with the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Saturday, it's playoff time in the NBA. As the New York Knicks take on Cleveland.
Mitchell puts it up and puts it in.
Coverage begins at 4:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Paul Feinbaum and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Stillman and Company live. It is loud now up here. Live at Bridgestone Arena. One last game today, Predators and Avalanche. And that means one last visit from Harold Priestley Gill III, who joins us now on the program. Hal Gill, Preds radio analyst. First of all, Hal, thank you for moving to Friday so we could have Barry Trotz sit down with us yesterday, which we thoroughly enjoyed. Let's start with this. How optimistic are you for the future of the team after what we saw the second half of the season?
Well, I think, and thanks for having me on and, not bumping me for someone else that's more important, like Trotz. I appreciate that. How optimistic am I? Very. Why wouldn't you be optimistic? You know what the Preds have is options. There's a lot of options, a lot of ways that they can go with this. I think you look at the young guys have stepped up and done a great job. You weren't expecting that, but you got a good look at them, so you know who they are and you know what they're all about. Now you go back and get healthy, like all the injuries that you've had. You need to get healthy, and in the offseason you make sure everyone's back and ready to go. So now you have a mixture of veterans and young guys, and then you have all these draft picks. So which way do you want to go with it? I think this leading up into the draft is going to be interesting. I think, especially you talked to Barry Trotz, he's reassessing everything and looking and assessing again and reassessing again. He's going to look through everything in this organization, and he's going to find out where he wants to. There's new ownership coming in. This is an exciting time, I think. And, I mean, no one wants to be sellers, and I think that was an awful time, and it was depressing for the team to be, oh, no, we're in a selling position. But going through that and having the run that we've had, and now you add all those draft picks, if you win tonight, you're 1 point out of a playoff spot. That's pretty good. That's not the end of the world, and it was an end of the world kind of thing for a while. So there's a lot to be excited about, and sad to see the way this season went, but it is what it is. Sometimes you got to reboot, and I think this could be a quick reboot, though.
So I'm not going to ask you what's going to happen with the coach because you don't know, but I am going to say if I wanted to make the argument against Hines, it would be the first half of the season and kind of the underperformance of some of the veteran players with bigger contracts. If I were to make the argument for Hines, it would be the second half of the season with what he got out of those young players and the development and the fact that they never gave up and so on and so forth. Which one do you think is more fair to, or I shouldn't say that. How much do you put either of those on the coach? The lack of production early in the season or the surprise success late? How much of that is really coaching and how much of that is not coaching?
Well, I think there's first of all, there's the player too. The players have to be accountable for what their part in it is. There's some players that underperformed, bottom line. Is that a coaching thing? I don't know if that's necessarily coaching. There's players that these young guys maybe overperformed, or is that just the situation that they were given, or was it the coaching? Was it John Hines helping them? I think in the end, Barry Trotz has been around all of this, and he's seen it. He knows, and from what I've heard and talking to John Hines, his doors are open. He says, Trotzy, come on in. Hey, you didn't hire me, but I want you to see what I do. So I think Barry Trotz, a great coach, knows how to coach. He knows what John Hines is doing or what he's not doing, and he's got to make that decision. I think we can sit here and say, okay, this guy underperformed, this guy overperformed, this guy was because of the coach, or this guy was bad because of the coach. In the end, Barry Trotz, I think, has had a good sample size of what was going on in the locker room, and then he's got to make that decision and say, hey, Hines, you're our guy, or we got to go a different way. But those are another big part of the decisions going forward is staff and how everything's run.
So Barry yesterday was incredibly non-committal, but so eloquent and detailed in that non-committal. I was impressed. But the one thing that he talked about wanting to be more offensive, talked about wanting to get the power play up there. And I wonder, because with Hines, the big thing was about being tough to play against and forechecking and physical. And Barry wasn't talking about that yesterday. Do you think that John Hines can coach a more offensive, fast-paced kind of game? Or do you think that would be somebody else if you're just looking to improve offense?
Yeah, well, I think you have to coach your personnel. You can't tell Tommy Novak to go out and bang bodies on the forecheck. If you have Tanner Jeannot and Colton Sissons and Yakov Trenin on the beast line, you're not going to try to get them to make plays at the blue line. So I think it all comes. I think Hines has had a really good balance. The last part of the year, he's had a third and fourth line that were big, solid checking, hard to play against, and the top six were a really skilled team. I think what they've relied on is a defensive structure that I think Hines has really made a staple using, knowing that he's got UC Saros, and that's going, again, let's keep the shots to the outside. Juice is going to handle those. Lankinen is going to handle those. Let's not give them the slot shots. I think they did a good job down the stretch with really a depleted D-core. You've two guys that have never played in the NHL that just popped in, and they look good.
I mean, they're about to put you down there.
They look good. These guys look good. I wouldn't go that far putting me in there, but these guys look good, and I'm excited about the prospect of those guys playing in a system that John Hines has.
So Barry said, Hal Gill's with us yesterday, about the young guys, that he feels like 3 or 4 of those guys have earned spots for next year. And then I said that Cody Glass was one of them, and he said yes. I think Glass and Novak for sure have earned spots for next year. That unless they just come to training camp and freaking stink, that they will be on the NHL roster probably in the top 6 next year. I'm trying to think who the other 2 would be. Do you think Tomasino has earned a spot in the NHL? Do you think Evangelista has earned a spot in the NHL? How do you feel about maybe who? I think we can agree Glass and Novak have probably earned a spot for next year, right?
I think, yeah.
So what do we think about the other guys?
I just think I think they've earned a shot. They've earned a shot to, and this is hard. Like
to pencil it in.
I think all these guys have earned a shot to go. And a lot of these guys are going to go to Milwaukee and play and try to compete for a Calder Cup. Like that's an exciting time, and they're going to get better doing that. But I think at this time of the year, you look at these guys and you say, okay, can they compete in a regular 82-game season when it matters for every game? Because a lot of these games in the beginning, they were just like, go play. That's a different thing. So I was excited that they stepped up, especially Novak, Glass. Parsonen, I thought, looks really good. I think he's an NHL player, and they played in big games that matter, that mean something, and I think that matters, but you got to take a step back, and because this is a different circumstance, and I think when you're playing with different players and you're playing, once everyone gets healthy, you get Forsberg, Duchesne, Johansson, like these guys come back. I think it's gonna look different, and it's hard to explain, but I think younger guys coming in, they're going to be excited about something, then they're going to take a step back. They're going to reevaluate the game. They're going to have to change the way they play the game. And so I think this summer is going to be telling, but we got a good glimpse of what they are. I'm excited for what they do in training camp. After they've had a summer off to break all this stuff down, another summer of training where they know what they need to look to. Some guys just need to get bigger and stronger, and they're young. So, Evangelista he's got some growing to do. He's a young kid, and so it might not be, hey, jump in the roster next year. It might be, hey, we got you. We want you to develop more so that you're ready to take the next step when it's the right time. But I don't think I think there's a lot of penciling in right now.
One thing I don't believe, Hal, is I don't believe that this team is going to put together a team next year that they don't think can compete at some level towards the playoffs. Like, I don't think they're going to look at, all right, how do we get even younger than we are now?
No.
I don't think, because with the goalie, I feel like with the goalie playing the way he's playing, you're always going to be in it one way or another.
Yeah.
And so I believe how much of that.
Don't forget, you got Juice. Obviously, Juice is huge, but you got Roman Josi. Roman Josi is a one-man breakout, and when he was out of the lineup, I think we all saw the player that Ryan McDonough is.
Mm-hmm.
He's like an exceptional talent and leadership. He stepped up big with Yossi out. So now I'll say, okay, you have Yossi, McDonough, and Juice. Like you have a chance to make the playoffs with those guys out there.
Sure.
And so that's where I say I think it.
Like if I ask Cody Glass,
I think
for instance,
I think it's a quick turnaround, and I think some draft picks will be moved to get players that they want. They're going to retool the way they do things. I think Trotzy has a different mind for the game, and he wants to inject that into the team.
So what Trotz kind of brought to my attention yesterday was the idea of like, I'm really happy with how the guys are playing right now, but next year if I ask you to be a first-line center in the NHL, you got to produce like a first-line center.
Yeah.
And that's where I look at a guy like Glass. Like I think Cody Glass had a great season, and I think Cody Glass should be on the team next year. But can Cody Glass be your first-line center for an 82-game season and produce?
Yeah. No,
like
exactly my
center?
point. Exactly my point. That's a lot that and I've been really impressed. Cody Glass, offensively, some good numbers, but defensively, he's going to have to go out and play against Nathan McKinnon.
McDavid.
He's got to have to play against McDavid. Like, you're asking a lot. He's stepped up, and I think he's done a really good job defensively. But that's a big ask on an 82 games. And I think they did that earlier in the year. They gave him that second line spot, second line center, and he was kind of shy from it. He wasn't grabbing it. When he came back into the lineup, he had a different value. He had a different value of himself, and he said, okay, now I'm going to take it. He had more confidence. He was using his stride a little bit more, using his speed, playing a little bit more physical, and now I think he's developed his game where he's ready to take that jump, but it's a big ask.
Would you be, last one for you, Hal Gill's with us, would you be surprised if this team went out and acquired veteran players to add to this group?
I would not be surprised. I think.
And I'm not talking about like Scarbini veterans.
I think you had
at
some.
the end.
I think you had some not just getting draft picks, but you moved some salary. Like Niederreiter and Gronlund. You moved some salary. Ekholm. You're taking on Tyson Barrie, which I think he's looked fantastic.
I think he's pretty
too.
good.
He's pretty good. He's been a good addition, and he's got that leadership, that excitement for the game. He's been around. He knows how to play the game and knows what it takes. So that's another addition. So I don't think with that cap space is everything. And if you can open up some cap space and you go sign some free agent. Don't forget, there's also we got McDonough last year, a pretty good deal, getting a really good player, because everyone is up against the cap. If you look in the East, there's a lot of teams that have zero room. They need to make some moves next year. And so I think you're going to see a lot of movement, and the Preds are poised in a position where Trotz can kind of pick and choose, and he's going to be able to steal some guys, I think, whether it's through trade or unrestricted guys, whether it's the draft picks that he has. I think he's poised to go out and get some players to add to what we already, and you agree, could be a playoff team with our D and with our goaltending.
Hal Gill, my dad does not understand why you come on this show.
I just love the abuse.
Come on this show.
I love the abuse.
Why you have come on this show for the last 5 years or however long it's been since you've been doing this.
You know what it is? It's just like, I love teaching people the game, and so I feel
Do you
like
feel like you've gotten through to me?
I feel like you're learning. I think you're learning.
But our conversations were better in 18 and 19.
The only problem is I get once a week talking to you at best, and so I try to teach you something, and then you go get all these bad habits throughout the week where you talk yourself into circles, and then you don't, and then you come back to me and you forgot what it's like.
Did you tell the
I need
team last week,
reinforcers
when you came on the show last week? Did you go tell
I
the
need
team
to give you
that
index
I
cards
believed?
to take home.
You said you were going to tell the team that I believed. Did you tell the team?
I did tell the team.
Did you? On the plane going to Winnipeg, you
I
said,
said-
hey, guys, Jared
It's
Stillman
okay.
believes.
It's okay for you guys to win now because Stillman believes.
He believes. So now take that inside of you and go on. And let me say this after talking to Barry Trotz yesterday, and I'm biased because, A, I'm a Preds fan, but also, before I, got into this, being on the radio and criticizing the team constantly, I was a big Barry Trotz fan. I believe in Barry Trotz. I do. And while I wish that, he had a little bit more scouting background to him, I believe Barry Trotz is going to get this right. Maybe I'm a local homer. I don't know. But I feel like Barry's got a plan.
Did you tell Barry when he was on that you believed?
No, I didn't.
Why didn't you?
Well, because Barry talks as much as I do, so that's hard to fit that into one segment.
Oh, that's a shame because we got to let him know.
Hell,
go
down there.
We got to let Barry know that
isn't Barry's box next to where you call the game from? Go tell Barry right now. Hey, Jared Stillman believes. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
Hal Gill, as always, joining us on the program. Hal, good to see you. Great
last
season
game
for
tonight.
you to be with us.
Will you enjoy it? Will you enjoy the game?
Will I enjoy it?
Yeah.
I'm planning to enjoy it.
Okay,
I enjoyed
good.
last night's game.
Good.
Even though I was on the other side of the ice on the Parsonen goal. So I saw the pass from McDonough, and I was like, that's a great pass. And I saw the puck go in, and I put my hands in the air, and we high-fived.
Yeah.
But I did not see between the legs, behind the back. I didn't see
we're teaching you the game. So, a couple more years, we'll break it down. I'll give you index cards. You can study at home. And then you'll be ready. You'll be ready to learn the game, and you're coming a long way. I'm proud of you.
Hooked on Hal, as always. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3
Cheers.
The Game. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. Hiller has been taking of the Nashville Predators. That's right. You'll see that Hiller logo right there on the ice. Also proud supporters of the Vols and Vandy. Hey, sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks, but there are big problems that can come from outdated, old, vintage HVAC systems. Older systems have higher repair costs, require more maintenance, and result in higher utility bills, and even worse, they can break down when you need them the most. This month, during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Plus, everybody wins with trade-in credits and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacements. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
The crowd is standing on its feet. It's in the hole! It's in the hole!
Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls, June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs.
See the ball.
Support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at theGameNashville.com/golf.
Genesis Diamond's spectacular spring store-wide sale is coming. April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. 3 incredible days of store-wide savings. Up to 35% off engagement rings, earrings, bracelets, wedding bands, plus special financing. Even Genesis GIA-certified diamonds are marked down. Lab-grown diamonds, too. Plus, top jewelry designers are flying in with all new amazing designs. You can't miss this annual event. Save up to $10,000 on some items. It's April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd only. And only at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Family Leisure invites you to vacation at home with a new spa, pool, patio furniture, or wood play gym this summer.
I really want a spa.
40 spas on display from Artesian, Best Spas, and American Select.
Prices starting as low as $29.99.
Family Leisure has over 100 sets of patio furniture with free delivery.
That sounds good to me, too.
We should really look at the wood play gyms for the kids. Family Leisure has the Diamond Point swing set on sale at only $24.99 installed. Family Leisure's vacation at home sale in Franklin and Antioch.
Family and fun come together.
It's Quaz with Little Harpeth, and I'm just having one of our Chicken Scratch American Pilsners. It's one refreshing beer and a good example of the German lagers that we craft right here in Nashville. Chicken Scratch is made with locally sourced raw white corn, giving it a subtle cornbready sweetness. And speaking of sweetness, Chicken Scratch's closest associate goes by the name of Deer Crossing Hellas, also a lager with a light crisp body and golden color, and it won us a gold medal at the Great American Beer Festival. So be on the lookout for our craft lagers. And as always, thank you for supporting our little brewery.
Nashville's radio version of The Odd Couple.
This number makes more sense.
It does not make more sense.
It's absolutely.
Robby, Stanley, and Joe Rexrode are Robby and Rexrode.
Yay, we win. We don't. We lose. No, I disagree.
Robby and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 9.
If you're good enough, you're good enough. It's absurd.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. It's Hockey Night in Smashville.
Deflects back for Duchesne. His shot stop and the score!
What are the keys to victory tonight? What's being said in the locker room? Where do the Preds reside in the Central Division standings? Jared Stillman has the latest now. With Preds Game Day on Stillman and Company. This is Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Predators Game Day is presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. TJ is my agent and has taken care of 2 home purchases for me and done even more for my friends. And you can connect with him at tjandersonhomes.com. I want to thank TJ. I want to thank his wonderful staff for being the proud presenting sponsors of Predators Game Day all season long. TJ, big Preds fan, just like you. And again, if you need any help, just even assessing the market, there's nobody, in my opinion, more knowledgeable than my friend, TJ Anderson, tjandersonhomes.com, TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Tonight is game number 82, and unlike past seasons, there will not be a game number 83. The Predators are 42, 31, and 8, good for 92 points. The Colorado Avalanche, the Punch and Judy Avs, are no longer that. The defending Cup champions are 50, 24, and 7, good for 107 points. Could this be the final coach's take with John Hines? We shall see what Barry Trotz decides to do, but this is John Hines on tonight's game.
Yeah, it's a little different challenge tonight in the sense that, you know, I would anticipate a full lineup, everyone that's healthy, and I think they're fighting for first place in the Central, which would give them home ice in the playoffs. So, you know, tonight's going to be, I think, maybe more similar to those Winnipeg's Calgary's game, I think, is maybe as far as intensity and probably physicality and speed of the game.
That we shall see. Time now for my final take, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. And I just said it to Hal Gill that I believe in Barry Trotz. And while I am a little skeptical of the fact that he's got a coaching background and not a personnel background, I'm okay with it because I think he completely understands the game. The big question that he'll have to answer is, will John Hines return as the coach? And I think John Hines has given you enough reason to pick either way. And if I had a vote, I would not bring him back as the coach. But if they did, I would understand why, and they'll go from there. But there are a lot of questions to be answered here in the future about the direction of the team. And all I can say is, after talking to Barry Trotz yesterday on the program, I believe in Barry Trotz. Max is coming up next. He's got the pregame show one final time. And what an adventurous year it was for Max. Stillman and Company. We'll see you Monday at 2.
All the big